Click it over. Hey, there we are. Look at those handsome gents.
Oh, that's us.
Look at them handsome gentlemen right there. Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, I'm getting audio feedback. Where's that coming from?
It's not me.
Oh, I think I got it. It was a tab in the browser.
Nice.
Get you every time, get you. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. Okay, we are no longer upcoming. Let me make sure. Oh, wow, look, there's a ton of people already in here.
Nice. That's
we
good.
got 24 likes and we just started. Look at that, man. I guess
awesome.
Pre-advertising the stream helps. Hey, I'm curious, guys in chat. Let me know. Did me actually tweeting out like a setup stream ahead of time so you could just lurk in chat? Did that actually help? Like, would you like us to do that every week where it's like an hour before the stream? We set up like a little campsite where you guys can come in and, shake hands and touch each other.
15 minutes even.
Yeah. It's like, hold on, let me zoom this in a little bit. Ooh, there we go. There we go. So they can get the full chins in there. All right, let's see. What about my focus? Wait, is that zoom? I didn't know you could control zoom with the front ring on this thing.
Ooh, fancy. Well, I suppose if whatever you set because like my front ring is exposure.
I think if you hold it down, it changes to anything, right?
There was a setting that I had to go into in the menu to change that.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I know on mine, if you hold it for like, I think it's obnoxiously long. It's like 3 or 5 seconds that it pops up a menu and you can scroll through the menu.
There's like a button or something.
Yeah. Well, you like hold it and the menu pops up on the screen, and then when you turn the ring, it selects from the menu, and then you click the button on the side again, and then it selects that, and then it becomes whatever that attribute is. So like on mine, if I just hold it down, it's like it's only 2 seconds. Then it has zoom, focus, exposure, iris, shutter speed, AE shift, and white balance shift. And then you can scroll up and down to find the one you want, like focus, and then you click the side button again, and then you got focus. See?
Neat.
And now I can focus me using the ring. This is just this is fancy equipment right here, man. We don't mess around. We don't mess around here at Barnacules Nerdgasm Hyperglobe Link Incorporated. So you ready for me not to drop the ball on D&D tomorrow?
Ha. Uh-oh. Hold up. I got somebody visiting.
Oh no. What's going on? Are you safe?
Oh, yeah, I gotta go answer the door.
Okay, go answer the door. It's all right. It's all right. I got it. I got it, bro. I got it. Welcome, everybody, to Tech Talk. The date today is 6/11/2022, and I will be one of your many hosts today, Barnacules, also known as Jerry. That is my given name in the real world. Hope you're all doing wonderful. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Me, not so much, but we'll get into that. I'm gonna regale when he gets back. I'm gonna regale you guys with a story as to why you never get on social media right when you wake up in the morning. It will just absolutely ruin your fucking day. I hear barking dogs. I hear barking dogs. Oh, I hear scratching barking dogs. Oh man. People are dying. Hey, Eric, by the way, thank you for that $2 super chat, man. That's a hell of a way to kick off the day. He said, how's it going, guys? Never been this early. I know, me either. Oh. Hold on here. Okay. Yeah, for those of you that missed the drama, how many of you guys are on Twitter actually? Let's see. Let's get a little chat shout out down here. How many of you guys are rocking the old tweeters? And also, where did my chat dashboard go? Oh, there it is. I got it. Pop out chat. There we go. I got a pop out chat mode over here. Make it easier to see. There we go. I got all my windows figured out. Hey, Sheldon Miller, my man. Woo! Thank you for that $2 super chat. He said, did Jerry clean his mic? I saw the picture. No, I still haven't. Look at it. It's gross. It literally has like a pound of spit on it. I could clone myself from this thing several times over. I really need to fix that. All right, so we got a couple Twitters on here. Pista says he only uses Mastodon. I've never even tried Mastodon. Isn't Mastodon the open source like Twitter clone software that Parler ripped off? I want to say it is like the one where they were actually like considering like going after them legally because they breached the JPL license the way they used it. I think it was something like that. Yeah, you have Twitter, but it's a little dormant. I'm on Twitter, but haven't seen it in a couple days. What's shaking, Jerry? Yeah, it's just, I want to read it. Oh, there's my man. There he is. What's up, bearded one?
There we go.
How's it going? You're not even dead a little bit.
Nope.
So I was about to regale our viewers with the tale
Oh,
of how tough love is evil and bad, and don't do it.
what do you mean tough love? What is that?
So tough love is where like somebody basically mentally abuses you to try to get you to do what they want.
Oh,
that's tough love. Like like conditional love. Like, oh, you know, if you don't lose 100 pounds, you're just dumb and you're a stupid piece of shit, and you know, KYS.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. So I had a run-in with a little dipshit on Twitter this morning, as one does. You know, it's a normal thing for me. This isn't an abnormal thing for me. But they always start out nice. They always come in and just randomly, like, even if the topic has nothing to do with that. It was basically, I had to end my live stream yesterday because I got really sick and I had to go downstairs and throw up. Luckily, I didn't throw up. I was able to get downstairs, take some Pepto, lay down. My blood pressure was through the roof. But anyways, I got it all under control and I was good. But I had to end the stream prematurely, so I apologized, as one does, right? I'm like, sorry guys, I had to end my stream prematurely. And so this guy decides to respond to it this morning. He's like, you know what you need to do. He's like, you know what you need to do, and when you're ready, you'll just lose the weight, and then everything will be better, and your life will be amazing, or whatever. And I was like, okay, here we go. So I was nice about it. You know, I replied back, and I said, listen, dude, and this is a stereotype, okay? Like, I've gained 100 pounds in like 2 years, right? Okay. I've never in my entire life gained 100 pounds in 2 years. It's because I can't move. Like, I literally have to go in and have these painful shots put in my back with a fluoroscope just so I can stand and like walk up the stairs a couple times a day. Yeah. And so he knows this. He's been somebody who's been around the channel long enough. So I just replied back and I said, you know, hey, in this case, the tough love shit doesn't work. Like, dude, I get it, but no, it's not. My weight isn't the primary issue here. I have to fix the other issues so I can lose the weight. And he's like, oh, when you're done making excuses and lying to yourself and blah, 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 you know, the same old shit, like blah, 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 you then go vegan. He's like, go vegan if you're brave enough and have the balls for it in a month, right. and stop hiding behind bullshit lies. Or I went off on him. I lost my composure and I fucking went off a cliff this morning on this guy because I'm like, I am tired of the tough love bullshit. I am tired of the people that walk up to quadriplegic people and be like, you're only in that chair because you don't try to walk hard enough. Stand up, you walk right now. You know, pick them up and then they collapse on the ground and be like, you're just being a pussy. You're just making a scene. You get up and you walk. You know, it's those types of people. Yeah, they literally get people to kill themselves. Like that constant abuse from their family, their friends, that unending when they cannot escape it because nobody is willing to understand their problem, even though they're more than willing to share the details. They will not accept it. And they just keep becoming more and more abusive. And the weird thing is this conversation actually started like he was being positive at first, like trying to look like he was being positive. Yeah. And then when I corrected him, then he went full on the other way negative. Like went full on tough love. Like, well, if you're not going to do it, you're just lazy and you're going to die. And then he started pulling the shit like, oh, you need to be around for your family. It's like, no kidding. I need to be around for my family. I want to be around for my family. That's why I haven't killed myself yet. You know, it's like I want to be around for them. Obviously, nobody wants to live in pain every single fucking day and be reminded they can't do anything. Yeah. But those people just, they ruin my day. They pissed me off. So anyways, I drop kicked the guy in the nuts publicly, retweeted his shit. He cowered out, deleted his message, removed his branding from his channel, and like went into hiding. Jeez. So good for him. I mean, fucking self-regulate, right? Just, like learn your lesson. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, well, it's like it's unsolicited advice with only knowing like a piece of the puzzle. Like they just see that like, oh, he's fat, and so it must be these reasons why. And it's like, it's like you said in the response, it's like it's a symptom. Like you got hurt doing, like you used to be power lifter and shit. Like it's not like you don't know how exercise works. It's like you got hurt, which means like you're immobile, which has led to weight gain, which I mean it's cyclical, right? Like the weight gain makes it worse to move and then so on. Keto, but it doesn't address like the original issue.
Yeah, and everybody told me to do keto. I listened to the internet, and then I hurt myself even more because I did the keto. It caused a uric acid bloom in my bloodstream. It eroded away all my joints, and I'm like, will they grow back? Well, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah. And
so now I'm in permanent pain in every joint. I can't even close my hands because of keto. I lost 40 pounds and everybody was like, yeah, Jerry, you look so good. But now I'm more wounded than I was before keto. Like I'd still be snowboarding at like 320.
The thing is, you have medical professionals in your life.
I do.
Who know the full gamut of the issues, or, you know, and I imagine that you are taking their input to heart. And if it
Well, I
was
have
like,
to.
you know, like
They won't treat me if I don't.
this is why we have experts and things, like people
Yeah.
who know more than we do, and we have to listen to them because that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
So, you know, this guy, and it's shitty and it's horrible that, yeah, that
Nobody
happens,
wants to
and
be this way is basically what I'm getting at. Like,
yeah. I
people
mean,
have
and
to know
that
that.
fucking argument applies to so much, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't get why people think that though. Like there's people that think like, you know, even if you're watching that show, like My 600-Pound Life or My 800-Pound Life, where it's like shit just got way out of control. Right.
yeah.
When you look at that stuff, it's like, they didn't want to be that way. They didn't want to like lay down and like struggle to fucking breathe and have to piss themselves in bed. Like they did not want that. That's not what they signed up for. There are deep mental and physiological issues behind getting that big. Like if you ate every bag of Doritos in the house with your regular lifestyle that you live right now, the average person is not going to get that big. Yeah. Like you could literally just eat nonstop and you would not get that big because your metabolism wouldn't allow it. Your mobility wouldn't allow it. But now you're crippled up because you're all broken and you're depressed and you eat all that food and you have zero metabolism because you can't even fucking like get up and move 5 feet. Mm-hmm. Then you have a problem, right? Then shit gets out of control really fast. And people and I'm sympathetic to that. I really am. It's like I understand that, yeah, you have to do something about it. But it's like these people are literally willing to go on TV, completely like humiliate themselves, completely go through this process just to get the help, just to be able to get a surgery that may or may not help them. It's about a 20% success rate. So it's like, you know, if somebody's willing to do that, like if somebody walks up to you and be like, hey, you need a car? I'm going to sell you a car, but you have to parade yourself to millions and millions and millions of people naked with your wiener tucked between your legs doing the Buffalo Bill in the mirror. It's like, you're going to be like, do I really need a car that bad? You know, it's like the fact that they're to the level where they're willing to humiliate themselves to that level to get some help tells you a lot about the situation that people tend to ignore.
Yeah.
And so do I plan to be my 600? No, I will. That'll not happen because, I will not be alive at that point because I'm already at the weight where life is tenuous at best. So I'm not going to double my weight, you know, and then die. But at the same time, it's like, if my back wasn't jacked up, I'd still be able to do everything. At 320 pounds, I was still snowboarding double black diamond. At 320, I was still literally climbing mountains. Like I did a video at 346 pounds because I had a backpack on. 346 pounds, I climbed up a freaking mountain. I made a YouTube video on it. Because I just wanted to show people that a fat person could get up to the top of the summit. And I did. I summited that day and came all the way back. And so people were like, wow, man, you know, and that inspired a lot of people. But it's like, yeah, I also took some very crit damage to myself doing that to prove that point. But that's because things are just deteriorating. As I get older, the condition I have, unfortunately, are both of my SI joints are damaged. They're deformed because of DNA shit. My spine is deformed. I have bone spurs sticking off of L4 and L5. I think I have two on L5, actually. And they basically just lap my sciatic nerve like a knife on a leather belt. And I'm allergic to all the medications over the counter that treat it. Though I can't take anti-inflammatories because I'm allergic to the entire class of anti-inflammatory. The only choice I have are prednisone, which if you ever take prednisone, it sucks. Nobody likes
which would cause more weight gain anyway.
No, and it does.
It's a steroid like that. It does that.
Yep. And that's the other thing is I have steroid injections in my back. And the symptom of steroid injections, they make you poof up and they make you gain weight. They make you retain water. So, and what's the other thing steroids do? People are like, oh, steroids make you buff. No, that's anabolic steroids. I take cortical steroids. Those actually shrink your muscles and diminish your muscles. These steroids, by reducing inflammation, the price you pay for it is muscle atrophy. So now I have to make the decision. It's like, do I want to be able to stand up in gut aching pain, or do I want to not stand up as much, but then not be in as much pain? These are like damned if you do, you know, they're not good. They're not good choices. They're bad and worse are my choices. So, I don't expect everybody to understand that. I really don't, Ox. I don't expect everybody to understand that. I mean, I'm willing to explain it to every single person. It's just when they will not listen. Yeah. And they become so self-righteous that they're like, oh no, I know your type. I know your type. Because you don't know my type.
Yeah, that's the thing is like when like it started off fine, like he wasn't being like a prick like a lot of people are, but it's when it's the argument like, look, man, you don't have all of the info. So you're only seeing what you see, like what I let you see, right? And you're making your judgments based off that. Like I go to medical professionals. I know more about my problems than you. I'm doing what I can because I have a team of people, experts that I pay a hell of a lot of money to tell me the thing to do. Like I don't need you, armchair guy in Twitter, telling me, because I have people who spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to be experts in these sorts of things, and they're telling me what I need to do.
Yeah,
like,
not to say doctors don't screw up, because they absolutely do. That's why I have like 10 of them.
Sure,
I don't trust one.
yeah,
I go to
right?
another
Like,
and I get a second opinion even.
And then so whatever.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, like, I'm actually, guys, I am to the point now where I have a dedicated pain doctor. If you guys don't know, they don't just give you a dedicated pain doctor unless you are basically in chronic pain management for the rest of your life. Like, that's not something that's what these guys do.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to the pain doctor, it's not like, oh, I have pneumonia and my lungs feel sore, give me opiates. No, it's like when they send you to a pain doctor after 14 years of being at a primary care physician and them not being able to solve your problems, when they send you to the pain doctor, he's like, you know what? We're going to stab really painful needles into your back and inject really caustic steroids into your joints and stuff so that you can function just a little bit more. And we're going to pump you full of drugs because unfortunately we don't have any other solution to the problem yet. But in the future, we might actually have something. So we got to keep you alive and happy enough to get to that point. That's what pain doctors are for. They're for one of two things. Either you just want to have the highest quality of life and you don't care how much longer you live, because you're damaged, or to get you to the point where they might actually have the technology and the availability of said technology to fix you. Now, in my case, unfortunately, scoliosis is incredibly common, right? Scoliosis with giant ass bone spurs coming off the side, jamming in your sciatic nerve. That's not so common. That's where it gets weird, right? If it was just scoliosis, they could just break my spine and shave down the vertebra. I mean, I say just, it's like literally like one of the riskiest operations you can possibly have done. And that's why they won't. People are like, why don't you get the surgery? Because the surgeons won't do it. Yeah. I've already talked to the surgeons. They're like, no, we're not going to do it because the bone spurs, if they nick my sciatic nerve, if they even just nick it, your legs feel like they're on fire for the rest of your life and you're crippled. I'd rather walk in pain than like feel like I'm on fire and stuck in a wheelchair. So given those options, my doctor even agrees, yeah, let's not do it. The surgeon also said he would rather not do it until I'm at a point where I can't walk anyways. And then he said, if you can't walk at all, like you're completely landlocked, then in that case, it makes sense to do it.
Yeah.
So, and then the thing is, I am investigating other things like bariatric surgery and stuff like that as a means to help me lose weight. But the problem is now we run into the damn problem, and this is a problem nobody considers, is my muscle mass is the only thing that's insulating my spine where it's damaged.
Sure.
So if I go on a crash diet because I can't eat enough calories because my damn stomach is stapled and I start losing weight, I'm going to lose the fat, but I'm also going to lose some of the muscle. And if I lose too much of that muscle, it's going to expose that nerve even more, and it's going to put me into worse pain, which means now I have to take more opiates. And if I have to take more opiates, then I'm going to be putting more stress on my liver and on my kidneys, which my liver's already tapping out. So it's like I just trade one thing for another. So it's just constantly in a state of what options keep me alive the longest. And people just, they can't understand that point of view because everybody thinks like, oh, if you're overweight, just like go on a diet, ride your bike more. It's like, I can't ride my bike. I tried to go ride my bike. I can't sit on the seat. It literally sends shooting spines up my spinal cord. Like, even if I'm not pedaling, even on an e-bike, just turn it, even a motorcycle, it'd be like, I couldn't ride it for any more than 5 minutes. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to get a workout in 5 minutes by like sitting on an e-bike and like gripping the throttle. But anyways, the whole thing is I just want to appeal to people. Please try to be a little bit more understanding. Just because you see the same thing they see. Like when you look at me, I see it in the mirror every morning. When I get out of the shower and I see my fat rolls all over my body, I'm not like oblivious to it and going, oh my God, Calista Flockhart, you're looking really slim. No, I'm not. I definitely know how I look. And the way I move like an 80-year-old man now. So I am acutely aware of my condition. I don't need people to tell me what my condition is. Like I actually have medical professionals to do that. And my mirror, for crying out loud. Just don't, the tough love thing doesn't work. All tough love, especially online. Especially when you are not physically there and the person cannot see your emotions and cannot see the state you're in. If you're just online, you're just slinging crap out of them, and it's just the same thing they hear day in, day out from hundreds of other people. Yeah. You're literally just going to drive them to the point where they start self-harming. And that unfortunately happens, and I've unfortunately seen that happen to other people that are, I'm not going to name them, but other acquaintances of mine online who have self-harmed themselves almost to the point of death. Because of the constant abuse that they get online from people just saying, oh, if you just did what I said, you'd be fixed. If you just did what I said. And it's like they've already tried what they said 100 times and it's made things worse. And they're like, nope, you just didn't do it right. You got to keep trying. If you did it right, you'd be fixed. And it's just, oh God, when I see that, it's like, if you saw somebody who was like Donovan, right? Like Crip Daddy, the comedian guy on Twitter. Yeah. If you saw him and you just walked up to him, and he'd probably laugh because he's got a really good dark sense of humor. But if you just walked up to him and said, bitch, you're lazy. Like all you do is lay around in that chair all day. Your mom has to come and feed you. Like you are a lazy piece of shit. Like pick up the spoon yourself. Like you're not going to get fed. Like, get out of here. If you want food, you feed yourself.
Yeah.
He'd just sit there and starve. And then you start crying or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, fucking suck it up. You're just being a pussy. All you have to do is pick up the spoon. And they're gonna be like, I can't. Like, I actually can't. The doctor over there said that I am broken. I cannot physically do that. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're just not trying hard enough. You need weed and veganism, and it'll fix you. And you're like, but I can't do either of those things because my arms don't work.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just being a defeatist. It's like that. When I see that stuff, it's like that's what people do to each other online. That's the tough love that I'm talking about, is where your online friendship is contingent on somebody doing something they're physically incapable of doing, or by doing it they harm themselves further, but you can't see it. So don't just assume everybody has to lose weight. Now, do I need to lose weight? Hell yes, I do. I fucking hate being this weight, but I've tried losing weight. And when I have tried to lose weight and I've tried to go through that thing, I've actually created more inflammation and more damage and on top of everything, if you want to get really technical, I get kidney stones very easily. I've had 3 kidney stones in my life. You know what causes my kidney stones? Protein. What's the number one thing you need in keto? What is the number one thing in paleo?
That is the thing, right?
Every diet that is like a crash diet to lose weight. You go to any dietitian, they're like, man, fucking keto, paleo, high protein, low carb. Mm-hmm. And my body will produce, I will be pissing out kidney stones.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I can't. So I can't have protein. I can't have over-the-counter pain medication. Also, they took Tylenol away. That was the only over-the-counter pain medication I have, but it's too damaging to my liver, so they said I can't have it anymore.
Yeah, damn.
So literally, all I have is carbohydrates and oxycodone. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like Mark Watney, on Mars. He's got a little potato dipped in Vicodin. Yeah, right. It's like, that's literally my life. And it's like, yeah, so options are very, very limited. Now, if I had a really expensive gym at my house that was equipped with, equipment that I would self-spot and I could lay down and I could do bench lift and stuff, I could start slow and I actually could build up more muscle. And then that would make it safer for me to lose the weight. Unfortunately, I don't have like $10,000 or $15,000 to go buy a gym or the space to put it in.
Yeah.
And I can't go to another gym. I can't travel because I can hardly drive my damn car. So I can't rely on that either. So it just that's why it gets so frustrating. People ask me a lot, like, why are you so sensitive to shit? Why do you let it get to you? It's because, dude, when you hear it every single day, every minute of every single day, you can't get on the internet and scroll one page without somebody going, you're fat, right? Oh, if you just lost weight, you'd be like super healthy again, just like you used to be, right? It's like, you guys know that I've always been fat. I've never in my adult life have been under 215 pounds. That was the lightest I'd ever been in my entire life. That was when I was like crash dieting. I was sucking down ephedrins. I was running and climbing mountains and shit. I never got under 215, no matter how hard I tried. And my average weight throughout my life, my average weight was 245. And the weight over the last 10 years was 280. And at 280, I was snowboarding, mountain bike riding. I mean, I was definitely starting to hurt more and more because my back was deteriorating. But that's when I fell off a cliff. It was because I became inactive because of my pain that caused the weight gain to go up. We literally went and ate like all you can eat buffet like every single day when I worked at Microsoft. I don't do that anymore. Sure. I eat like 2 meals a day and then have a snack at night. It's like, I'm probably taking in, 2,500 to 3,000 calories, which a guy my size should be burning somewhere in the magnitude of 5,000 at rest. Wow. But I don't, because my metabolism just does not kick. It's why I'm always tired. So then they give me stuff that boosts my metabolism, and that has side effects because you can't have a medicine that helps one thing without it causing another problem.
Right.
Try not to depress you guys. Sorry about that. It caught me off guard today, and usually I just handle it and I'm just professional and I just move on, ignore it, turn the other cheek and bam. But I was like, man, this guy really pissed me off. I even replied with a video. If you want to go see my visceral video telling me he's a piece of shit, it's over on Twitter. Roman Lubers, my man. It's good to see you. Thank you for that $10 super chat. He said, coffee time. Let's go. That's $10 super chat. I think that deserves a clap. Should we do a clap sound effect? I think so. Okay, I realized that was super fucking loud.
It wasn't to me.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay, I looked down at the board and it was like pegged out at like plus 3 dB or something. It was over. It was over 100%. Wolfenstein, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Sheldon Miller, thank you for the $2 super chat. We appreciate it. He said, Jerry clean his mic, saw the picture. No. This mic you could harvest and clone Barnacules from that spit filter. Look at that. I don't even call it a pop filter. It's a spit filter. Look at that. It's just layers of Barnacules crust. You don't realize how much shit comes out of your mouth like when you talk for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Like I understand masks now. Like a lot of people didn't get masks during the whole COVID thing. Like no, like look, if you have a microphone, you're a live streamer, look at your microphone after streaming for a week. Like you can see the blast pattern. Like you can see look at yours. How's yours looking?
It's hard to say. But yeah, I can see some buildup. Sure.
So I haven't cleaned mine in, I hate to say, like 6 months. But the funny thing is looking at it. If I just sit here from this point of view, because this is about where I sit when I talk to it, right?
Right.
So if I look at it, I can see the blast pattern. I can literally see where it's white from like a million speckles of dried spit and dead skin. It goes out like this, and then if I look around the back, it's perfectly clean. This is clean. This is clean. Everything from the spit guard, the road logo back, and the whole base of the thing is just covered in spit. My whole keyboard is too. So I'm just sitting here just talk. It's like, wow, if I put on a mask, these would be clean. So that just tells you how much projectile stuff's coming out of you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen those videos where they put like a black light behind the person in a dark room and then they have them like just yell? And they're like, "Arr!" And you just see it just looks like a spraying of fountain coming out of their mouths, but then they turn the lights on in the room and you don't see anything.
Yeah,
that's creepy, man. Oh damn, old Sheldon Miller just gave us a 20. Hell yes. Hell yes. That's a clap. Actually, you know what? That's all the buttons at once. Hold on here. There we go. That was all the buttons at once.
Oh man, and then another guy, even more. We're running out of buttons.
Oh damn! No, actually, that was only 6 of the 8 because I missed 2 of them. So we'll go the full 8 for the 50. So is that you doing that?
Yeah, that's my curse button.
How do I set that up? I want that.
It's just built into the Go XLR Mini.
That is awesome.
But it really sounds like a Morse code thing, though. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not like the proper
sensor
beep. Yeah, it's not the proper sensor beep sound. It's just like a.
I was like, am I picking up aliens again? is Sputnik still
Kratom. Who you drinking? You're on that Kratom stuff, man. I've been curious about that just from a recreational standpoint.
I've only used Kratom once, and if you guys would like, I will tell you about my experience.
That's that guy from God of War, right?
Yeah, Kratos. Kratos drinks Kratom. No,
like that's the stuff. That's the stuff they kind of suggest to get off of
opiates.
Yeah,
100%.
Like heroin and stuff.
And you know what? It works. However, I will caution people, there are some pretty shady things about it, and I'll tell you. But before I do that, I want to thank all these people because they're being so damn generous. Sheldon Miller gave us a 20. Thank you, Sheldon. We appreciate that. Time Series, TYME, so Time Series gave us a $50 super chat. Okay, hold on. We're going to do this one by one. Here you go. Ready? Here we go. Okay, no sad trombone. And then Joggle. Oh my god, dude, there's a $50.
Wow, you guys are great. Thank you so much.
What?
I was just saying they're all great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys. Oh my god, I don't even know where this came from. Hey, Joggle. Maybe they're like, go get your surgery barn.
Yeah.
Joggle, thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciation. Do you still drink Kratom? By the way, I don't drink it. Kratom is the grossest thing you've ever put in your mouth. I would rather just. Okay, just
makes sense because it's like. Have you ever just chewed on a marijuana bud?
Yeah, it's
like
gross. Yeah.
It's so gross. It's so bitter and awful.
Or like, have you ever had the bong water? Have you ever gotten bong water in your mouth?
Oh yeah, man, look, it is the most horrible, bitter. It's like chewing an aspirin. It's the worst. Like it is awful. Don't do that.
So Kratom is so bitter that, and it's acrid too. Like it will suck all the water out of your mouth. It's like it's like it's worse than cinnamon. You cannot swallow. Like people that are like, oh, I just put a scoop of Kratom in my mouth and swallow it. No, then you must have the most saliva-filled mouth I've ever seen in existence. Gross. Because it literally, if you have it in your mouth for more than 1 second, all the moisture everywhere in your mouth instantly goes into it, and it doesn't get any softer. It doesn't clump together. That's the other thing. Even if you mix it with water, it doesn't dissolve in the water. It just kind of floats out. So you have to stir it really quick and then chug it, and then the taste is just gross for hours.
Like baking soda,
exactly
in the water for the heartburn.
Kratom is also safe. It's like coffee. That actually isn't true. And as somebody who's used Kratom,
thank you, Jesse Love, for $20.
I have no reason to steer you guys wrong on that. Like I actually did a lot of research on this stuff because again, I'm very cautious about stuff like that because of my other medications and things like that. Kratom isn't safe. And I'll tell you why. But it's not as bad as people think. And again, caffeine's not safe either. In high enough doses, caffeine can actually overdrive your metabolism pretty severely and cause you to develop shakes and all kinds of stuff. And high blood pressure, right? Caffeine can drive your blood pressure through the freaking roof. So everything's good in moderation though. Like even Kratom in moderation isn't going to do anything. But the amount of Kratom you have to ingest to get any kind of analgesic effect is dangerous to your kidney, to your liver. So kratom is metabolized by the liver, and it's hard to metabolize. So it's like running sandpaper through your liver. So it's not recommended to use for long periods of time in high quantity. You want to take breaks. But I will tell you this: kratom, absolutely horrible for medium to severe pain relief. Don't even bother. It's not worth it. All you're going to do is just build a dependency on something that does nothing for you. If you have mild pain or you're having sleep problems, kratom actually works pretty good. But here's the thing: depends on where you get it, because kratom is unregulated, which means you might be getting sawdust with like a 10% kratom in it. You might be getting pure kratom, but like shitty old kratom that's been sitting in a box for like 20 years. You know, you really don't know what you're getting unless you go with like a reputable company, and everybody goes and buys the cheap stuff. And I guarantee if you buy the cheap stuff, you're getting screwed. Like you're not getting what you're paying for. So so expect to pay for like a bag of it, like for an average person, probably like a month supply or something. You're going to spend somewhere in the order of $40 to $60 for like stuff that's good.
Damn.
But here's the thing that I'll tell you about kratom. If you're addicted to opiates, because I am, and that's what I used it for, was for a small period of time to titrate off so that I could reduce the amount of opiate that I needed. And it works. It does completely alleviate withdrawal symptoms. And even in small amounts, you don't need a lot. You don't even need a workable dose. It's just a very tiny amount of it, and it lasts for a lot longer. Like I found that it lasts 6 to 8 hours for keeping withdrawal effects at bay. And then going through withdrawal takes like 3 days, and it's easier to titrate off the kratom than it is off of an opiate. Like a full-on opiate. So I'd say it's actually incredibly useful for actually getting out of an opiate addiction. Like totally 100%. But just be careful with it. Don't trade one addiction for another, because I'll tell you right now, kratom is way harder on your liver way harder on your liver than any other opiate. Like, doesn't matter if it's fentanyl, it doesn't matter if it's hydrocodone, oxycodone, OxyContin. All those things are metabolized very easily by your body, unless they have Tylenol in them. Then that hits your liver really hard. But kratom is one of those things where it's like you have to take quite a bit of it to get any kind of an effect. Like even in pill form, you're taking like 5 to 10 pills for any kind of analgesic effect, and it's like that will pound on your liver hard. So you need to drink a hell of a lot of water, and you need to make sure you don't do it for a prolonged period of time. Kratom isn't an opiate. That's a big misconception. So a lot of people think that kratom is an opiate. If it was an opiate, it would be regulated.
It works similar to how it, but it's not.
All it does is that kratom itself binds to opioid receptors. So basically what it does is it clogs up the opioid receptors so that your brain will create a little bit of dopamine and a little bit of serotonin, but it's not going to be losing it. You're not going to be going into negativesville. So it keeps you above that withdrawal point, because that's what withdrawal is your brain adjusts to a certain amount of opiate in your bloodstream, because it's hitting your dopamine receptors. Or your opium receptors, and then you create dopamine and serotonin. Well, if you don't have that, then your dopamine and serotonin crashes, and that's what gives you that really sick feeling, like you got the flu and the shakes and the chills. But kratom helps to mitigate that a lot. So, but I'll tell you this: don't be taking kratom with opiates. Because you're just dealing double damage. Right? Double damage to your liver. And the thing is, they'll actually screw each other over. Everybody's like, oh man, I saw a forum that was like, oh, take kratom and take opiates and it'll like potentiate it. Nope. It has the exact opposite effect. You will lose any of the analgesics from the opiate itself, because the kratom will bind, and then that opiate's just floating in your bloodstream until it gets filtered out and it doesn't do anything. So you don't want to do that, because then what you're going to do is it's going to make you feel like you need to take more and more and more, and then you're screwed. And people get addicted to kratom, and you definitely don't want to be addicted to kratom. It takes more to get addicted to kratom, obviously, than it does like an opiate. But people that become dependent on that stuff, it's like, one, you have to have a good supplier of it, and two, your liver's going to fail. Like you do that stuff for like 5 years, your liver's gone. So just it's not worth it. And I'm telling you guys, like, I don't have a dog in this fight. Like I told you, like I am 100% for using anything that makes you feel better if the pros outweigh the cons. Like that's my like I'm not going by like, oh, it's legal or illegal or prohibition, or I'm not, none of that. I'm just saying that from my own experience that kratom is dangerous, so it has to be respected. But if you are already in an opiate addiction that you need to break, and there's a lot of them that need to be broken, if you have any other choice, take it. From somebody who's had to use opiates for 15 years now, if you have any other choice, take it 100%. It's not worth it in the long run. And but if you need to get off of it, kratom will help ease withdrawal symptoms a lot. Like I'd say 80 to 90% in my case, but again, it's a person by person. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean it works for you. Or all of our chemistries are different. But it's not regulated, at least right now. They are looking into legislation to regulate it. Also, the interesting thing is kratom actually does come from a sister of the coffee plant.
Oh,
So kratom.
How about that?
Yeah, and the other thing is kratom is a stimulant, just like coffee is, as a matter of fact. But the weird thing is, if you take it in super small quantities, it gives you a buzz. But if you take it in massive quantities, it knocks you out. What other stimulant do you know that does that? Caffeine doesn't. The more caffeine you take, the more balls to the walls you get, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, kratom is weird like that. Like if you take a heavy dose, you tend to get tired, or at least I did. And then I went and looked, and other people had a similar effect. But if you take a little bit, it tends to have a almost Adderall effect to it.
Wow.
But the thing is, getting it into you is a nightmare. It is the grossest thing you've ever, like, I'm not even joking. I would rather bite like a cow pie and chew it and swallow it. I can't even describe the flavor, but kratom is the grossest thing I've ever put in my mouth. I tried drinking it with orange juice, and that didn't even help. Like I threw up.
Gross.
So the only way that I could get it into me was literally making capsules. Like I bought these little beef gelatin capsules that are like the biggest ones you can get. It's like size 3. It looks like a suppository. And I just fill those by hand and then swallow. And it was actually worth spending like a half an hour to make the capsules to take them than trying to get it in any other way. So, but I will caution you guys, again, at your own risk, to make sure that you get it from a reputable source. Like actually do research. Don't just go to Google and look at like some Chinese review site that says, oh, 5 stars, best kratom, go on. No, like go into like forums and stuff and ask questions and look around and see like what suppliers are legit, have been around for a long time, have real user reviews. And then you're going to get something that's pure.
Yeah.
But if you just order like, off of Alibaba kratom, or like, oh, and by the way, if you get it off Amazon, it's not kratom.
Oh, I bet.
There's a bunch of stuff on Amazon advertised.
Oh man, you gotta.
It's not.
It's like your local smoke shop's got a shit. Go down there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just true. That's true. It does.
Yeah,
like a lot of those places do carry kratom. I forgot about that. So, and if you're getting it from them, they're not going to sell you fake kratom. So, but online, yeah, you'll get a lot of people got fake kratom, and there was a ton of people that were like, "Oh, I got it and it didn't do anything," and they're like, "Well, did it taste like super duper bitter when you put it in your mouth and make you activate your gag reflex?" No, it tasted kind of mild. Nope, that wasn't kratom.
Yes, or like weak sauce, right?
Yeah. If you put it in your mouth and you can saturate it with saliva, it's not kratom. It is the most like hydrophilic substance on earth. Like you can take a scoop of it and just dump it in water, and it will just sit in there dry, floating on the water.
Wow.
You can stir it into the thing, and it'll float to the top, and the little particles will look wet, but they will not dissolve. So it's really, really hard to just swallow the powder. So if you can do it, hey, power to you. Some people claim they can. I couldn't do it. I tried it multiple times just because I was lazy. It didn't work. But I would, me personally, from my experience, the only time I would ever use kratom, and the only reason that I keep any of it around, is for one specific thing, and that is just when I need to titrate off of an opiate. It's easier for me to use that to keep the withdrawal symptoms at bay, because then you don't get any of that analgesic effect, which is good because you want your brain to let go of that. You want your brain to bring its chemistry down.
Yeah.
And so if you keep giving it opiate, that's not going to happen. So what you want to do is you give it something else that gets rid of the cravings and the shakes and all that stuff, but then doesn't give you any of the benefits. And that's the best way that you're gonna get off of something, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But don't cold turkey. I'll tell you that. I've done it dozens of times over the last 15 years, and you're not going to die. And it's perfectly a valid method to do it. And to be honest, if you can get through it, it's probably one of the best ways to stay off of it.
Yeah.
If you make it through it. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a fucking miserable experience. It always is. Every time I go through it, I underestimate what it felt like the last time. It is not a fun time. So talk to your doctor. This is another thing. People are afraid to talk to their doctors when they have like an illicit one. Like all my stuff's prescribed. But let's say go talk to your doctor. They understand.
Do not ever lie to your lawyer or your doctor. Flat
100%.
Those are the two people who do not give a shit about what kind of weird shit you've done and will keep it a secret, like
to their grave.
But it's outrageously important to be like 100% full honesty with those two people. Like,
yep.
Serious business, especially my doctor. I do not hold back when it comes to medical stuff. They need as much information as possible, and they do not care. They're not going to report you to the cops for doing coke or whatever. Like,
no,
they need to know this
misconception. Yeah. No, they actually sign an oath, and they're even legally bound to not tell law enforcement, unless there's only one caveat to that. If what you're doing will lead to your own death, like you are, telling your doctor I'm going to kill myself,
another person,
then they have the authority to basically force you to get help. They can put you in for a 72-hour psychiatric evaluation. But for substance abuse, no, you could be the raging alcoholic. You literally walk in there with like the needle hanging out of your vein, and the doctor's just going to pull it out, patch you up, and say, here's your options.
Yeah.
And that's every doctor I've ever had. Like I've had like 3 different doctors who went into it. It's like, I remember when I used to get my physicals, my doctor would sit down and look me in the eyes and he'd be like, okay, how many women have you been with? And I'm like, well, my wife's the only one I've ever been with. And he's like, no, seriously, how many women have you been with? And I was like, no, serious. And he's like, oh, wow. He's like, yeah, usually he's like, you can tell me the truth though. He's like, I'm not telling anybody. I just need to know for your medical record. And because this was back when I had my prostate infection, they were trying to figure out where the hell it came from. And I'm like, no, seriously, I didn't do that. And then he started like talking to me. He's like, okay, well, do you do anything with your butt? Basically, do you what do you put in there? Whatever. And I literally thought like it was a trap. Like, I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, no, it's like those are just in perfect straight face, like perfect poker face. Doctor can sit there and ask you all kinds of uncomfortable stuff. And so tell your doctor, same thing with therapists too. If you have a good therapist, like that you can tell them anything, because if you don't tell them, then what they're going to do is the advice they're giving you is going to be wrong, because every piece of advice that they give you is going to be, literally tell them everything. Like I had a conversation with my therapist last time for about 15 minutes of an hour conversation. We just talked about masturbation. Like that's something I can talk to. I have a female therapist that I can sit there for 15 minutes and just tell her like all the troubles, all the good times, the things that work, the things that don't. And she can sit there and actually like advise from a professional like standpoint. No judgment either. It's like, oh, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, do what you want. Like, do whatever feels good, make it that. But maybe do this, maybe try this, maybe only doing it as a reward system when you do this, so that you associate it with the reward system.
There you go.
And so the things that you wouldn't think about when you're just like sitting there by yourself and you're like, oh, that's actually kind of clever, use it like a little bit of a reward system instead of just whenever you want to, because now it's like every time you think about wanting to do that, then you go do something else.
Yeah.
And then come back to it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of clever. It's like, what it's common sense now that you say it out loud, but so yeah, but your doctor and therapist stuff, you can tell them the truth. And doctors are very acutely aware of addiction. Like a huge part of a doctor's education when they go to school is handling addiction, because unfortunately doctors create as much addiction as they solve, because doctors have to put you on medications and stuff like that your body becomes accustomed to, that they might not want to let go of. So doctors have to be trained in not only getting you onto something to make you feel better, but also getting you off of it when the time is right. And a lot of people, they just won't tell their doctors. They'll just go find an illicit source to continue to get it. And their doctor's records are like, oh, he came off of it. Doesn't look like he had a problem with it. So we don't need to intervene. And meanwhile, you're just like killing yourself for years. Like buying crap off the street and doing things behind dumpsters that, make you bashful. So yeah, just tell your doctor. He's not going to tell anybody. And the thing is, like, your nurse is the same way too. Like your nurse that you have at the doctor's office, she's bound by the same oath. So
probably better than the doc even. Nurses.
Just you can talk to all these people. So it seems like one of those common sense things, but it's not. People are afraid to talk to doctors. People are afraid. Like if you go to the hospital and you walk in there and you have drugs in your system, the very first thing you should be telling them is that you have drugs in your system, because they need to know, because they're about to stick a needle in you and start giving you medications that interact with those things really terribly. And there's people that have literally died because they weren't honest. They come in, they're like, are you on any substance right now? Your eyes are dilated. Nope, I didn't take anything. Well, then he's got a concussion. We got to get him to the ER. And it's like, no, if they knew you had that would be
or something. Yeah.
So yeah, be honest with your doctors. Tell them everything. The worst that'll come out of it is they'll be like, we have to get you off that addiction, but they're not going to just leave you. They're not going to just take it away and go, okay, go home and suffer. What they're going to do is put you on like methadone or one of the other titration drugs. And if they have to, even put you in a program. Like they're not going to force you. They'll give you options. But the last thing a doctor wants you to do is be in distress when you're doing something, because if you're in distress doing something, you're not going to be able to maintain it. So that's why if you go to rehab, people are like, oh, you go to rehab, they don't just lock you in a rubber room and let you like scream and punch the walls and stuff like you see in the movies. No, you're getting like 5-star meals, catered meals. Staff is very, very well aware that you're going to be really aggravated. So they treat you really nice. They have a high tolerance for abuse. Like it's like a country club, right? That you go to. Because I know some people that have gone to rehab. And they claim it's nothing like what you see on the TV or like, on intervention and stuff. Well, intervention actually kind of gets it right. Like intervention where you walk in, they're like, oh, hi, welcome to the rehab. Here's your room. We serve meals. We got video games, because they're always trying to keep you busy, because the last thing you want to do is have your be bored. Like that makes everything worse. Like if you're hurting, it's like listening to music can cure like 50% of your chronic pain while you're listening to it. So they want to keep your mind occupied. They don't want you just sitting in a room, like, staring at the wall, shaking. That's dumb.
Yeah.
But get help, guys. Honestly, and I'm telling you from my own experience, every time I got help. I've talked to my doctor. Even the kratom thing. Talk to your doctor. Like they will, and if they don't want you to do the kratom thing, because they usually do, and the reason that they do, just like a lot of doctors will even recommend THC, which a lot of people think, oh man, no way would a doctor recommend that. No, because it turns out THC is actually a fairly safe analgesic on the people that it works with, right? It also restores appetite. So if you have a sickness or something like that causes like intestinal or stomach distress where you can't eat, they'll prescribe that as the thing to make you hungry. So because it's cheap, it's easy, it's available, and it's somewhat safe compared to what they normally give you. Like if you have the choice between THC or like freaking hardcore opiate, THC is way safer. So the doctor is going to weigh those options for you and go through them with you. But if you don't tell him, he's never going to be able to help you. Joggle, thank you for that. And if he does tell your parents or whatever, then sue him. Just go sue the shit out of him. Then you can afford all the drugs you want. No, I'm just kidding. Doctors don't like being sued. Joggle, thank you for that $20 super chat. He said, do you still drink kratom, or any safety, liver, kidney stone dangers around kratom? I don't know about kidney stones. Kratom doesn't seem to affect the kidneys that much. It's mostly liver, but it is hard on your liver. As far as I know, it's actually almost as toxic as Tylenol. And you take it in higher quantities. So technically, ounce for ounce, based on how much you take, it's going to be harder on your liver than even Tylenol.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that if you're taking it, no alcohol, absolutely no alcohol, and absolutely no Tylenol. Do not take those three together. No exceptions. And try not to, use it as like, oh, this makes me feel good, so I'm going to keep doing it every single day. Because just like with an opiate or anything that binds to your opiate receptors, within a week or two, if you don't up the dose, you will be back to baseline, and you'll have to take it just to be baseline, meaning normal.
Jeez.
And that's why opiates are so damn addictive, is because you get to a point where if you go over the edge even a little bit, your body adjusts to it, and then your normal dose doesn't work well anymore. And then it takes a long time for your body to come back down. It goes up way faster than it comes down. So you have to resist the urge to abuse it. And the problem is people do abuse it. Like people will be like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. One pill didn't help. Okay, I'm going to take 4. And it's like, yeah, but you just now inadvertently raised your tolerance for the next 5 days.
Right.
And then if you don't take that dose for the next 5 days, you're just taking enough to make you not sick. It's not helping with the pain. So it's a nightmare situation to handle. Like, for instance, I'll even admit too, like, I'm not good at managing my own medication. My wife manages it. Like she gives it that way. It makes it harder. I don't just have it accessible to me to just be like, oh, no. If I'm hurting really bad, I have to physically go and ask her for it, and she'll check the clock and everything and be like, I don't think you should have it yet. It's not quite there. She regulates it. And because of that, it makes it so it's not as easily accessible to me, which you'd be surprised how much that manages things. Like just having a person that you
helps.
trust there that's like watching, and actually thinking. So it's not the pain thinking, it's actually them thinking. That actually helps a lot. And I'll tell you where that really helps is at the end of the month, because I've done this a couple of times now where I just run out of medication like 6 days early. Yeah. And that's happened like twice. And that's why the last time I used kratom was because of that, because I misjudged. They changed my dosage from a certain number of pills to a lesser number of pills. I didn't adjust for it mentally. So I was taking the same number of pills that I was from the previous prescription. And so I ran out like 6 or 7 days early. And so I called the doctor, and he's like, oh shit, dude. Like, oops. He's like, oh, well, that's not good. That's bad. And he's like, well, I was like, is there anything you can do for the symptoms or whatever? First thing he said is, hey, if you want to come in, I can give you a shot of Suboxone, which is basically like methadone. It's like a long lasting, very weak opiate that just gets you through withdrawal. Okay. And so I was like, here, I'm going to see how things go. And then that's when I tried the kratom, and the kratom actually caused the withdrawal symptoms to subside. And I was like, okay, cool. So now I don't got to go get the Suboxone shot, because I really don't want to have another opiate in the mix, you know? So But yeah, people are really ashamed. I've had people message me and say, "How can you speak so frankly about this publicly?" Like, because this stuff's all super demonized, right?
Yeah.
It's like you tell people nowadays that you're on Adderall, all of a sudden you're a meth head and you can't play esports, and
Whatever.
every
That's
single
so
headline's like, what was that guy's name who was on Adderall, the esports gamer, like Phase something or whatever, and then it
Yeah, I
booted
don't
him
know.
because he was on Adderall and it was a
That's so
prescribed
dumb.
Adderall. It's like dumb. That's why I try to destigmatize it by talking about this kind of stuff, because I think it's important that people know that it's not a weakness to need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That is something that's actually healthy. This is the thing. People are like, oh, no amount of opiates are healthy. No, I disagree, because if you are in chronic pain, your blood pressure is through the roof, and arterial pressure will kill your heart quicker than shit and cause a brain bleed at worst. So keeping that blood pressure down is what's critically important. So if you can take an opiate, which suppresses the pain, which brings down the blood pressure, you're actually going to live longer. You're going to be in better shape, because the damage that it does to like your liver or your kidneys is far less than that of the high blood pressure to all of your organs, including your liver and kidneys.
Yeah.
So you got to weigh those options, right? And that's where a doctor really comes in handy, because you have to look through and weigh the options. Same thing with the steroid shots in my back. Would you go get steroid shots in your back if you didn't need them? No, because it actually puts you at higher risk of diabetes. And it deteriorates muscle. The muscle around the injection site will fatigue and wear out and get smaller. And so that's bad. Most people wouldn't want that, right? Well, in my case, where I'm in chronic pain and I can't move, and I can't stand, well, then I'm not working the muscle at all, which means the muscle is going to completely go away. Like in 6 months, it'll be gone. So in order to get me up and get me moving, the shots are justified, because now I'm moving enough that I'm losing less muscle with the shots than I would without them. So it's you have to weigh all the pros and cons. You really do. Suboxone withdrawal takes forever. Yeah, that's why I don't recommend it. Suboxone is good if you really, really, really have to get off of a very long-term opiate addiction. But because the opiate lasts for so long in your bloodstream, it's really, really hard to completely kick it, because it tapers off so slowly. Like there's a whole science to it about like the half-life of an opiate in your system, because they're all different. Like hydrocodone versus oxycodone is like the difference between 4 hours and 6 hours. And Suboxone is like 24 hours. So when you have a long-lasting opiate, you only have to take it once a day. But the problem is when you start withdrawing off of it, it tapers off very slowly, which means the withdrawal lasts much longer. So whereas with a short-acting opiate, you just get really sick and then come back to baseline within 72 hours. But it can last longer than that depending on the individual. Some people, unfortunately, and this is sad, is there are some people that if you get so addicted to opiates, you will not 100% ever get back to baseline. Like
that makes sense.
So you do have to be cognizant
sometimes. Sure.
Yep. And if that does happen, then something like Suboxone for like long-term management. Just to give you you can literally be like microdosing, but it'll be enough to get you back to your baseline and hold you there. Now, that's not super common. Like most people, the worst I've seen, like that I'd consider somewhat average, is sometimes it takes a month. Like it'll take a good 4 weeks to completely be back to baseline if you've used opiates for a very long period of time. And it depends on how much you're taking and how long you've taken it is going to directly correlate to how long it takes to withdraw.
Damn.
And so, so if you guys ever have any questions about that, feel free to come over and ask me on Twitter. Like this is something I'm very open about all this stuff. I think it's really, really important. My doctor even thinks it's cool too. Like he even suggested that I live stream my last injection. so I might take him up on that one of these times. I think but Twitch would probably ban me because my ass is hanging out while they're doing it. But but maybe I could frame it so it's just my face, and then you just see the doctor behind me with his mask on and his syringe jamming it in. But yeah, it's like, I just think it's good because a lot of shame exists in our society around everything today.
Right.
And people feel like they need to hide the stuff that's going on. And then the problem is that creates a false illusion for everybody else that's going through the same thing. So you could literally have 100 people in a room that are all suffering from the same thing. They could all be like addicted to opiates and masturbation and whatever, right? Everything.
Sure.
They could be and every single one of them would present to each other as they're like perfect angels.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, these guys are so perfect, so I got to be perfect. But then they don't realize the other guy's like, oh, these guys are so perfect, I got to be perfect. And everybody basically lies to each other. Yeah, exactly. And then one time, the one person just goes, oh, God, fine. I did this and I did this and I did this. Then all of a sudden, another person's like, yeah, me too. And then another person's like, oh, yeah, I did that. And then pretty soon they become the majority. And so that mentality, that's actually like a really cool effect to study in psychology. Is as humans, we have a tendency to code ourselves to the group.
Oh yeah.
And it's a survival instinct. Like if you're around 100, if you go to church and you're around a bunch of people that like, believe in God and preach with the choir and stuff like that, you're going to feel out of place being like the hardcore atheist. So
Right.
you might not change your belief system in your head, but you might be a little bit more receptive to what they're doing and stuff just to be compatible in a part of the group. You might sing along.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, just and you may not even do it consciously. It may be a subconscious thing. Like if you're at a party and you hear some guys talking about, oh yeah, man, I got my car and it's got this new engine and this new transmission. You might walk over there and jump into the conversation, even though you're not a car enthusiast and you don't even know what engine's in your car, and just be like, yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, like, hey, what kind of upgrade should I do to my car? And even though you're not interested in the conversation, you're interested in being a part of the group, and so you'll make it happen. And so I feel like that is a good thing. I think it's a good thing that we, that we're compatible like that and we can work together as groups instead of trying to kill each other all the time. But that also goes for the bad stuff too. Like things that we think are bad because, society has taught us that they're bad, or religion has taught us that they're bad, or some other teaching or influence taught us it was bad. It turns out that, when you really look around and people are being honest, it's a common thing more often than not.
Yeah.
And people just don't realize it because they don't want to be the first ones to say it. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll be the first one to be like, dude, I worked at Microsoft for 15 years. And that all but 3 of those years at Microsoft, I have had to be on some kind of pain medication or some kind of ADHD medication. So and I wrote out that career like all the way to the end with honors. Even when they laid me off, they gave me a promotion for crying out loud. So that was a great career up until that point where they did that horrible thing to all of us.
Yeah.
But look at Timothy Leary, right? Timothy Leary, what he got? Two. I mean, he's dead now, but he has the 2 Nobel Peace Prizes, and he was on LSD for both of them. Like he actually came up with the theory on LSD, and he said that during his acceptance speech, and everybody was like, "Ixnay on the LSD."
Yeah,
but it's just one of those things where it's like people drew the conclusion that in order to be that intelligent and to be able to come up with something like that, there's no way this guy could have used any kind of mind altering substance. How many functional alcoholics do you know?
You wouldn't know.
You would know they're functioning, right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I worked with a functioning alcoholic for like 15 years at Microsoft from the first day I was there to the day I left. And he's not there anymore because he was in the same layoff pool as me. But it's like the dude would literally have to drink at work or he'd get the DTs. So he'd always have his little flask and he was always like dumping in his coffee and taking sips off and everything. You're like, man, that guy just drinks from morning to afternoon, but you never smelt it on him because he knew how to manage that. Yeah. He never appeared drunk. He literally get up in conference rooms and give entire complex speeches showing charts and graphs and going through and talking about SQL queries and optimization. And you would never in a million years know that this guy, like, if he didn't have alcohol, he'd probably get the DTs and die. He was that addicted. As a matter of fact, he even was slightly jaundiced in the eyes. Like that was the giveaway, right? That was the eventual giveaway. But it just blows your mind because you're like, I grew up around an abusive father who was an alcoholic and he was like dumber than a box of rocks and wanted to beat me all the time. So it's like I just associated anybody that's an alcoholic would be that way. Yeah. And it's not true, man. It's not true. Hey, tactical porn Smurf.
Hey,
great day.
Nice.
Thank you for the $6.30 super chat. He said, wish I could get rid of your pain, Jerry. Keep on going on. Hey, me too, man. Me too. It's like I don't have one of those weird fetishes where I like pain and what do they call it? Sadomasochism or whatever. Yeah. I'm not into that. Jesse Love, thank you for the $20 super chat. Man, you guys are being generous today. We really appreciate that a lot.
Seriously, that's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, haven't seen a show like that in a long time. You guys are just you're ballers. I love you. I am me. Thank you for the oh wait, hold on here. Jesse Love, thank you for $20. Said if somebody wants to try to help someone, try loving that person. Couldn't have said it better. That's absolutely true. Like one of the best things you can do to help somebody is literally just to be there and care about them. That's it. Like there's so many times in my life I've been so depressed and just having somebody literally walk up and just give me a hug and say, I'm there for you. Even when I don't even physically need them to do anything, just knowing that somebody cares enough about me that they're not going to just cut bait and run because, I'm no longer fun to be around or because of my pain or something like that. That is an amazing thing. So, always keep that one in your back pocket. Like, don't withhold that and be like, oh, this person doesn't want to hear this or this. No, they do. They absolutely do want to hear that. I am me. Thank you for the $5.07 super chat. He said, at least it's something. Had to pay my dentist half a fortune, that bastard. Dentists are expensive. They're like, seriously, like almost as expensive as surgeons now. Yeah. I mean, they kind of are surgeons in a way, right? Like when they do root canals and stuff. I mean, they're chopping you up pretty good, aren't they? Yeah. I've never had a root canal, but I've seen one done, and it doesn't look like it's very much fun. Like where they chop open the gum and then like stitch it closed or whatever.
Yeah, man. Ugh, that's harsh.
Man, I haven't been to a dentist in 6 years, 5 or 6 years. I probably should set up an appointment though, because I do pay for dental, but and I think it comes with a preventative cleaning that I haven't done ever since COVID started. So I gotta get back in that wagon and take care of my teeth, because a lot of people don't know this, but if your teeth, if you have dental problems, it can actually affect your heart.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's like all your guts. Yeah.
Yeah, so take care of your teeth, because if you get rot and infections and stuff up in your gums and stuff, it will make its way down to your heart. All right, well, I think we warmed up the audience. I think we're ready to jump into topics, right?
Right? Yeah.
We talked about drugs for like an hour, so I think we got to be loosened up. Let me see if I can find the dashboard here. I lost it. Here, how do I open up a dashboard for an event that's already going? Hold on. Here, let me click on it and open it here, because I'm trying to see. I usually have a dashboard up, but somehow it got closed. Let's see. Analytics. Is it under analytics? No. Do you guys know off the top of your head? Like where do I click on the thingamajigger to go into the dashboard? Not the dashboard for like YouTube, the dashboard for the live stream. There's got to be a button. Oh wait, hold on. Analytics, monetization. Yeah, there's no. I thought there was a thing that was like go to live view or something like that.
I mean, what if you just go to like studio and then under your live events?
Oh, here, let me try that. So go to studio. Oh, hold on here. I think I see. Okay, last live stream performance. Nope, that's not it. Okay, so go into content and then go to live. Sorry, guys, bear with me a second here. I want to have the dashboard up so I can see everything that's going on. And here, let me just click on the live event and open that and see if it says anything.
Yeah, okay. See what happens there.
So live stream, STR, here's the video. I don't see dashboard anywhere. Playlists, audience, tags. Man, they added a bunch of new options recently that I haven't looked at. Here, let's see if anybody in chat said what software. Oh, this is just the YouTube webpage. So, well, damn. So we got hold inappropriate comments for review. That's already enabled.
Yeah.
I could have swore that if you were in the middle of a live stream, like if it said live, I thought that it would give you an option to open the dashboard, or it's not called dashboard. It's called like Studio Center or something. Analytics, monetization. Okay, get shareable link, edit title, description, view on YouTube. Let's see, what is it? Here, let me try view on YouTube and see if that does it. View on YouTube. This is weird because I know I've done it before where I've lost the dashboard and I was able to just get right back into it, and I'm not seeing that option. How is your garage floor? That's an interesting question. I guess it's okay. It's still there. I mean, last time I checked, it's still there. Do you mean the coding, like where I did the video where I coded the thing like 10 years ago or whatever? Yeah, it's holding up all right. It's got some scratches and stuff in it. I will tell you this though, like when you do the floor coating, make sure that you etch it more, like with acid. Like I did the acid etching, and I should have done it like 2 or 3 more times, because the coating still, if you hit it really hard with something or it gets bashed with something, it does chip off. And it's not supposed to do that. Wait, Linus had a small rant about the new YouTube dashboard. I wonder if they moved it. Oh no, wait, hold on. I think I found it. Is that it? Live? Show me live stream. No. Dude, I think they removed the option, because I could have swore it was right in here. Like if it was a live broadcast, you used to have a button that was like take me into control center or something. Oh well, we'll just move on. I don't need to see it. You guys. Oh wait, I guess I can see. Can we see the count of how many people are watching just from the front view? Here, let me refresh. Oh, we have to, okay. So 263 people. There we go. I got it. I'll figure it out before next time. Also, hey Aux, would you be down with like adding a bunch of like effects and stuff to the stream?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think like little animations and things like flying across and like buttons that can trigger things. And then what I could do is I could give mods capabilities type things in chat. So like if you wanted to trigger an event, you'd just do like a bang something in chat and hit enter, and it would do it. Yeah. I want to do something like that. Might even do like a little code gasm around like creating the scripts and stuff to do it, because I know a
Yeah,
lot
man.
of people would like to know the easy way to do that, and I know everybody else has done it to death. Like Epos Vox, like if you can do it with streaming, that guy's done it.
That's the guy for
He's the guy.
sure.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go watch all of his videos and then distill it down into ADHD mode and then make my video. It's like, here's the 10 things. But if you want to learn anything about live streaming, he is definitely the guy. Just like Joel, I'd say Joel Telling is the 3D printing guy. The guy you want to go to for live stream is Epos Vox. That guy is freaking amazing balls. Don't tell him I said that though, because I don't want him to get a big ego or anything like that. Like, you know, I need to make sure he stays in his place, but stays in his lane. But no, he is a truly awesome dude. Let's see. So today, now that we got enough people in here, the topics are, I want to talk about this Windows error reporting stuff, because I started talking about this yesterday on my live stream before I got sick and had to abruptly shut down. I mean, it was pretty abrupt. I wasn't even able to raid anybody. But we started the talk on Windows error reporting privacy issues, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this, because there's not a lot of people that have the insider information on how this works, and I do. Yeah. So let me explain what happens when an application crashes on your computer. So if you're, and this is from, let's go ahead and say Windows Vista forward. Before Windows Vista, there was an error reporting mechanism, but it was a little bit different. This is I'm talking about the Windows error reporting, or WER, WER. Yeah. And they used to call it the Watson database. Internally to Microsoft, that's what it's still referred to this day. But externally, it's known as Windows error reporting. Now, by default, your computer is set up when you install it with, you know, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, 10, and 11. Your computer is set up that when an application crashes, it will be triaged, meaning that the first level analysis of the break is going to be done by Windows itself. And then Windows is going to, in the background, report that information to Microsoft so that Microsoft can investigate it and try to reproduce the issue and try to fix it so they can patch it and get a fix out eventually on Windows Update. That's how the ecosystem works. So if you were unaware of that, like if an app crashes and it says, oh, this app, that, you know, app blah, 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 just crashed, reporting to Microsoft, it'll say like reporting information to Microsoft. And sometimes it'll even ask you, do you want to report this to Microsoft? And so it's only going to ask you that for third-party apps. If it's a Microsoft app, it's just going to report it unless you disable it. And so anyways, what happens during this process when you say, yeah, go ahead and report this error to Microsoft, either automated or by clicking the button, is it takes something called a dump file. And a dump file is a memory dump. So what it's doing is it's looking at your process that just crashed. So let's say it's Internet Explorer, which a lot of things broke in Internet Explorer. So let's say IE crashes. Well, what's going to happen there is the operating system is going to attach, like at the moment that it breaks, it's going to freeze the process. And then it's going to attach something called a debugger in the background. You're not going to see this happen. And it's going to take something called a dump file, which it dumps all the memory from that application into this dump file. And that can be big. If it's a big program using a lot of memory, that can be a huge file. So the way that they mitigate this to make it smaller is they do something called a mini dump. Okay. These are real names too, by the way. In debugging, they call it the dump and the mini dump. It's kind of funny. So the mini dump is just a copy of the memory and the context of all the threads in the program, meaning instead of storing the entire memory, even the garbage pieces where the program isn't using, you just store the things that are currently in the memory at the time that it crashed. So you're only storing like local variables, the threads, the functions that are being called for that specific thing. You're not storing everything. So this little mini dump file gets uploaded to Microsoft. And then what happens is if enough of those mini dump files uploaded to Microsoft yield the same problem, meaning that they all are the same exception, same line of code, same problem, what it'll do is they'll send out a request for full dump files. And then what'll happen is your computer now is going to report a full dump. It's not going to tell you either. It's not going to pop up and say, oh, Microsoft wants more information on this. It's just now next time it crashes, Microsoft's going to go back to the machines that have exhibited in the past and say, if you see another crash just like this one, we want a full dump. So now your computer's uploading like 4 gigabytes and you don't even know it.
Yikes.
Yeah. So and then that's, if something breaks in the kernel, gigabytes. It's even worse. If something breaks in the kernel, it can be your entire memory. So if your kernel breaks, like your computer blue screen to death, when your computer reboots, sometimes they'll ask for a full dump and your computer will be uploading like something that's like 64 gigabytes.
That's outrageous.
Yeah. And it'll do it over a long period of time. Too.
Why would it be so big?
Because it's the entire contents of the memory of your computer. So basically what a full kernel dump does, it's really dumb, but unfortunately there's certain bugs that you can only figure out with that, especially cosmic ray stuff. Huh. So like for instance, let's say you boot up the computer and a driver crashes in the kernel. Okay. So what it's going to do is if they can't figure out what the bug is from the mini dump, which is just the context of what blew up,
Yeah.
Because let's say it blew up because of something that's in a completely unrelated process deep in the kernel somewhere. Well, they wouldn't have that context in the mini dump. So what they do is they get a full dump, which is just take the entire contents of the memory at the time that the kernel crashed and the computer crashed.
Okay.
Take that entire block of memory. That's why when your computer crashes, you can see that percentage going up. Like, it'll be like 1, 2%, 3%, 4%. That's it taking a dump file. And then when you reboot your computer, that dump file is going to be in a folder. It'll end with .dmp, and it'll be the size of your memory on your computer. So if you have 128 gigs, you have a 128 gig dump file.
Yeah.
Now, they do apply some compression on it when they upload it, but it's a perfect snapshot of your memory. And the reason that they do that is because then they can load it on their debugger and see exactly byte for byte what was going on everywhere in your computer. They can see what's in every register of the CPU, what's in the cache, every single byte that's in the physical memory. It's super verbose, and some bugs require that. So it starts with a mini dump, and then it gets to a full dump. Then it can get to a mini kernel dump, and then a full dump. And those are like the bigger. They keep getting bigger. And so, but all this data, what I'm getting at here is that Microsoft stores all this data, archives it forever. Like, it's storage is so cheap, they don't mind just storing all of it. The only time that they purge data is after they've done the triage of the dump file and they've extracted the data they need from the dump file and they know what the bug is and the bug has been closed. Then they can go back through and they can trim the full dumps, but they'll still keep the mini dumps. And what this means for you is that every single app that has ever crashed on your computer since Windows Vista, somewhere in this database at Microsoft, if somebody went and found your computer by MAC address or your computer by Microsoft login, they could actually go extract every dump file that was sent to them from your computer. And not only that, they can open it with something called private symbols, and they can see every variable in memory, which means if you logged into a website, they know the URL that your browser was on when it crashed. They know, and if it's a full dump of the system, if it's a full kernel dump, they know the state of every single process, which means even if it's an app that didn't crash, they have that information. And so the reason that this database is so scary, and if it ever got hacked, we would be royally screwed. First of all, they wouldn't be able to replicate it because it's too damn big. They would just have to access it and query it locally. But the database is so gargantuous and stores so much data over a long period of time that if you did anything on your computer between Vista and now, it could be just something completely innocuous without context given. That data is sitting in that database ripe for the picking someday. And AI is going to get to the point, AI analysis has already improved drastically, right? With OpenAI and stuff. You're going to eventually get to the point where you just have computers that are trolling through these dump files, dumping the variables, and then using like heuristic analysis and stuff to figure out what those variables might represent, and then create templates to extract that information and put it into a database somewhere that can include your logins and passwords, websites you visited, how long you were on a website, what things you clicked on within that website, the HTML that was activated, the JavaScript that was activated, anything that process touched internally or externally. All of that stuff from these crashes that have happened over the years is all stored in this Windows error reporting database, and there's no way to purge it. So when you go to the dashboard and you say, I want all my data, removed from the Microsoft database, it doesn't remove anything from the window error reporting database. That stuff is stored forever. So, and the other thing that's a little scary is I'm curious that there aren't more breaches, because every developer at Microsoft on the Windows project has access to the Windows error reporting database, which means if you're an irate developer at Microsoft, you could go in there and let's say you had a girlfriend and you were like, I wonder what she's doing on her computer. If you can get the MAC address of her computer by getting her to send you a message or connecting to her computer, having her connect to you so that you can extract that information. If you have that MAC address, you can go into the database, pull up, or even the login. If you have her, at Microsoft.com account or at Outlook or at Gmail, if you have that, you can actually go find every single dump file that's been reported by any machine logged in under that account or any machine with that MAC address. And then you could pull that data, you could load it into debuggers, and you could use a script to extract all the local variables from every single thread and create a spreadsheet. And you could go through that spreadsheet. It would be something that's kind of like a keylogger, but way more accurate and way more verbose. And I'm actually surprised that this hasn't happened yet, as far as I know, at Microsoft, at least not in a public way that people noticed, because it would be very trivial, even for somebody like me with access to that database, to write a script that goes through and extracts that data and looks for certain patterns and then takes those patterns and stores them in a database. And then I could sell that database. That's kind of scary, isn't it? Like, when you think about that,
weird. Yeah,
it is a little bit weird that breadth of data like just exists and is still building today. Now, the reason that Microsoft need this, like for the justification, is if an app crashes on your computer, whether it's theirs or a third party, they need to know why it crashed, because in many cases, these crashes can be exploited as escalation of privilege. Because if you know what specific memory corruption causes the app to crash, you can sometimes figure out how that memory corruption could be purposefully changed so that it'll execute something else. And this actually is this is a frequent attack surface on Windows even today, is to buffer overruns. Like find a place where you can actually write more to the end of the variable because they didn't use proper termination, and then keep writing to it until you go into the memory that's the call stack so that the computer thinks that you're running another thing.
Yeah.
And it gets really complicated, so I'm not going to go any deeper than that, but it's a common attack vector. So they need those dump files so that they can verify how severe is the crash, right? They prioritize it between Pri 0 and Pri 4. Pri 0 meant data loss and security issue. Pri 1, potential security issue. Pri 2 was potential data loss, but no security issue. And then Pri 4 was nice to have, basically meaning that if it crashes, it sucks for the user, but it just restarts and they go back to where they left off and it's fine. And so those get the lowest priority. But if you have a Pri 0 bug, they need as much information as humanly possible, as quick as possible. And if they hit the bug internally, they want to go look at the database for the external code and see if anybody's hit this in the wild. And that's what I would do when I was there, is I'd say, hey, Watson database, I hit a break that I haven't seen before and a new version of Windows 10. Internal build, not publicly shipping. And then I'd go to the Watson database and say, have you seen this exception somewhere? Like, where else have you seen that? And the Watson database is like, oh yeah, it's been hit like 10,000 times in the last 30 days. And you're like, oh, so this is something that happened recently, and it's happening to the operating system in the wild, which means it's not a regression. This isn't something that we put into the operating system that broke it, because it's also hitting on the shipping operating system, not just the internally one. So it's those types of things that steer you in the direction to tell you how critical a bug is and how you fix it. So Microsoft really does need this information. The thing I take issue with is how long they're storing it. The archiving of this, because as long as they store that information forever, at some point bandwidth is going to be so fast and computers are going to be so fast and AI analysis is going to be so good, like machine learning basically is going to be so good that you'll be able to write a bot that will basically go and crawl this database, and it's going to be like the all-seeing eye. You'll be able to find anything on anybody. And when I mean anything on anybody, something as innocuous as you're just driving down the road with your laptop in the bag and it's in a suspended state, like it's in a low power state, and your laptop wakes up to like update something, right? It wakes up to update something, and then something crashes, and it just happens to have your GPS coordinates. Now wherever you were at that moment that the laptop did that, you have a GPS tag with that time location and proof that it's physically you. So if you were somebody, let's say you told your significant other that you were somewhere and you were somewhere else, you were somewhere you weren't supposed to be. You could have these people blackmailing you and saying, oh, I gained access to the database. I pull all this information on this person. Now I'm going to say, hey, listen, I know all this stuff about you, and I'm going to release it to somebody else unless you give me money. Yeah. And the data is already there. There's really no way to get rid of that data. So it's just a matter of time before that database is breached and abused. And so that concerns me, because nobody really thinks about this, because Microsoft is like, oh, well, it'll never get breached. It's an internal thing. It's like, yeah, but it's on the CorpNet, which is also VPS to the internet. So, and there were tons and tons of times when I worked at Microsoft where they'd find MP3 and media streaming servers running out of people's offices, and like hundreds of people on the internet were connecting to them. There was a torrent supernode that was run like three offices down from me for like 5 years. And so this stuff does happen. Like, just being on the corporate network doesn't offer you protection, because there's ways to route and create tunnels and stuff through the private network out to the internet. As a matter of fact, we had a server in the main lab when I worked at Microsoft. When I started my career there was a room called 3549. It was the main lab. It's where we had 1,200 OEM machines. Like, actually, it was like 16 to a monitor and keyboard, but across the top, the surface of the desk, the top 2 rows, and then one along the bottom. So you basically had like three. I think it was 3. It was 3 rows of computers going the whole length back to the wall of the lab with just enough space to walk between.
Wow.
And this was the hardware compatibility testing lab. So, or they call it the Wickle lab today. Okay. So in the Wickle lab, you have all these computers, you have biometrics and shit to get into the room, right? It's a heavily protected lab, but all of these computers are constantly crashing and reporting issues also, right? Like that's what we do, is they also report to the same database. It's just an internal version of it. Well, we had one of the computers in there that was found that was called, it was just called MP3. And it had like every song ever made on it. And it was a big server. It was like a big iron, like 8U Intel Bear, like with wheels on it. Like, it looked like it's the size of a refrigerator, bigger than a refrigerator, like a small refrigerator. Okay. And this thing had been sitting there forever, but we never ran any tests on it or anything. It just sat there powered on, and everybody just kind of ignored it because it was never in our lineup to do anything. Well, finally, after like 5 years, and we were all using the server, we didn't know it was in our lab. Like everybody, like when you go there, like eventually through the grapevine, somebody tell you, oh, go to //MP3, and it would open up a folder that had like every music by album, by artist, and it was just all MP3s. And it took them 5 years, but they finally tracked the server down. And and I was there when they did it. And they actually came into the lab. They walked over. They logged in through the KVM terminal, switched over to the machine. It didn't show anything. It was black screen. So they brought over a cart, and a crash cart, and they plugged in the monitor and the keyboard and the mouse, and they turned it on. And sure as shit, it was just running like Windows. It was like Windows NT 4.0 or something. It was running really old software. This is an old computer. This is a really old 32-bit computer. It's been here for like 10 years. And its sole purpose was just hosting that share, and it took them 5 years to find it on their own campus, on their own network. Jeez. So that's how disoriented Microsoft is with like their own internal, routing and stuff. Unless somebody writes down where a computer is, like you'd think that they just trace it back like through the routers and find its physical location. No, they can get in the ballpark, but when you have 1,200 computers, they're not going to go one by one and check each one of them to see if there's a hidden, NTFS share or something. So they did finally find it, and they did finally remove it. And then they sent out an email to the, the whole team and the whole division saying that, this won't be tolerated if you guys create more pirated servers. That was like one of 10 servers. There was already like 9 other servers that had like movies on there. There were servers that had games on there. Like when we did LAN gaming, we'd just go to a test machine and literally install the full game from the share.
Yeah.
And so these things were all over the place. Well, what made it really bad is that they were accessible outside of the Microsoft network. You could actually go home and you could actually create a VPN tunnel that to the corp net, and then open up the MP3 share and literally stream MP3s and videos at your house. This would have been back in like 2004, 2005. That's like magic back then, right? And so Microsoft didn't have that much control over their network. So what I'm getting at with this whole segue is that Watson database is more than likely already being accessed externally by people that shouldn't be accessing it.
Yeah, probably.
There's dump files already, I'm sure, that are being harvested directly or indirectly from that and being put somewhere in an insecure location where people can access them and archive them. They may not even know it. They might just be sitting on a hard drive that gets chucked in the hallway. It goes to PC Recycle, and then somebody buys a hard drive from PC Recycle, fires it up, and they're like, "Oh, why is there 1,000 dump files on here? Let's go through them." So I don't consider Microsoft a really good steward of data. Like they're very much down on the list. And so it's kind of scary to think about, what kind of head this is going to come to in the future. Yeah. Because over my entire career at Microsoft, I had access to the Watson database. Everybody did. Even the product managers had access to it. And you could query it through a web interface because there's like a whole web thing, or you could even just connect to it directly with Product Studio and like pull the dump files. That was their internal bug management tool back in the day. But you could just go through and just open these dump files. They were all attached to the bugs. So even if you didn't have access to the Watson database, you could go in the bug database, say find every crash in Internet Explorer, and it would return every crash, like from the SQL server, and every single one of those records would have a dump file associated with it from the crash. And you could just copy that. You could just download that data to your local hard drive. So it's a little bit scary to think that level of data exists out there in the first place. It just has not been compromised to a degree that we know about yet. But when it is, man, you are going to be like, what the hell hit you? Like, unless make sure you have 2-factor authentication enabled on everything, because I can guarantee you that most of those dump files for like Internet Explorer are going to have local variables that contain either the username and password or the handshake hash. So, and if that's still current, like the cookie basically that's going to handshake with the website and say, oh, you're already logged in, you don't have to log in again. Like that's going to be in the dump file. So somebody could take that and replicate it and then create a connection to a server authenticated as you. So, and that can actually get around 2-factor authentication too. That specific one, like you don't want people to be able to clone that encryption hash. Right. That basically says you've authenticated with the site. I forget, there's a name for it, the key or whatever. But sure. But if you have that and you can replicate that and you can put it into play, you can actually continue the handshake. And that would be bad. That would bypass all 2-factor authentication. They'd think you were in the same session you just were, so it would open up to the website or the configuration that you just had. It's bad news. It's really, really bad news. And those exist in dump files like in droves, because it turns out that when you go to a website, the entire time you're on that website, regardless of what page you're on, it's actually authenticating each time. Each time you connect back to that service, it's passing this token to say, oh, I already been authenticated. You can give me my data. That's where, like, have you ever heard of man-in-the-middle attacks? They use something similar to that. So what happens when you do that and you authenticate each time is that means that it has to keep that local in memory so it can keep accessing it, right? So it caches that. Anything that's cached is going to be that's in memory is going in that dump file.
Huh.
So your username, your password, search engine results. Like if your web browser crashes right as you're typing in a search engine result, the whatever text you just typed in that bar, even though you didn't hit go or hit enter or anything, that's still stored in that control as a local variable.
Yeah.
So and you can still see it by opening that dump file, and none of it is encrypted. That's the other thing. Remember, you don't have to encrypt stuff in the actual dump file because that's the debugging code, right? Like you have a private symbol that takes all the hieroglyphics and turns them into something that's human readable. So you only need it encrypted when it's leaving the box or leaving the process. Like you don't need it encrypted in its own memory space. That would just slow things down. And even if you encrypted it to the nth degree, there's always a place where you have to decrypt it. So no matter what, like let me give you an example. Let's say you create a program and it asks you to log in. When you type in your username and password, that's plain text. That's not encrypted. Which means before you hit go to authenticate, you have the plain text username and password stored in these controls in the context of that memory. So if you crashed right there, there's going to be variables that have your unencrypted username and your unencrypted password. Even though once you hit go, it's all encrypted and then it's only set encrypted and then it's only decrypted after it comes over. That initial state of just typing it in the box is an unencrypted state. And this used to bite Microsoft in the ass, and it still does today, because at Microsoft, there's a program that we used to use for automation called WTT, or Windows Testing Technology. And one of the big problems with this tool is we had to figure out, how do you run tests as users that have privileges to download stuff off of protected shares? So like, you want to authenticate, like you just installed a computer with a fresh operating system, and through automation, you want to run a job on it, like go run a test. Well, you have to be able to go download that test from a share, and that share has certain credentials. So you don't want everybody to know the credentials, because if they just opened up the job, they'd be like, oh, we got the credentials of that account. Let's go do some shenanigans. So instead, they use something called a local logical user, which I told them from the beginning was absolutely just, it wasn't going to work. What they were trying to do was dumb. And their idea was, well, let's create an encrypted user that contains the username and password, but it's encrypted in the job. You have to create it with an external tool, and then you encrypt it into the job, and then the job runs, and then the program itself decrypts it when it needs to use the username and password in the job. So to give you an example, you run the job, it takes this LLU that you give it, that's like whatever LLU has access to this file share, for instance. And what it's going to do is it's basically going to do net share username password to that share as a part of the job before it tries to access it. Well, the problem is it has to at some point issue a command with that username and password, which means it has to decrypt it. And even though the private key is only stored, nobody has the private key, because it's the private and public. The private key is stored somewhere else, but the public key or whatever is stored in the program itself. All you had to do to circumvent this thing was create a job that just echoed the username variable and the password variable to a text file, and then emailed it to you. And that's how you circumvent it. So you run a job, it decrypts the username and password out of your site where you don't have control of it, but then you tell the job to just put it in a text file and then mail it to you, instead of actually using it to authenticate with the share. And then it would send you an email with the username and password for every one of the LLUs. So I did this, and then I sent them an email, and I'm like, well, I have all the username and passwords. You know what they said? They're like, it's an architectural flaw. I don't see how we can fix this. So to this day, it still does that. If you're at Microsoft today, you can still have access to every single account that has ever been put in there, including people's personal developer accounts. Man. And it's because they couldn't fix it, because it was an architectural flaw, and they would have had to like redesign the whole system to make it more secure. And even if they engineered it to the absolute pristine nth degree, as long as that username and password has to be used for a handshake at any point, there is a place you can intercept it. It might not be from the command line. It might not be from a text file, but it could even be just attaching a dump file. Like one way I found to get passwords from stuff is if you have a job that opens up a process, and then it feeds to that process, like, the encrypted data that needs to authenticate, all you have to do is set something called a breakpoint. You basically just say, hey, when it gets to the point where it's passing the username and password and it's at the decryption code inside of the program, just stop execution of the code right there, and then give me access to the debugger. And then all I got to do is go into the debugger, dump the local variables there. I got the username and password. No matter how encrypted it was from this point to this point, no matter how many keys were stacked on top of it, it doesn't matter. At some point, it is in a decrypted state and you can access it. So, so now hearing all this, even if some people are like, okay, you're going too fast, I'm not with you. The TLDR of it all is Microsoft has a database of every single thing that's ever crashed, and that also contains data from other programs alongside of it and other dependencies, even if they didn't crash. And all of that data is neatly stored in a database that is accessible to Microsoft employees that at some point could be trolled for information that is in a plain text form, no matter how encrypted you thought it was. and it is personally identifiable because it's all associated with all your PC ID, your MAC address, your IP address, your username that you logged into Windows, date and timestamp, geographic location based on GPS or internet service provider data. It's at some point shit's going to hit the fan. I don't know when. It might be 5 years, might be 10 years, might be 20 years. I don't know, but at some point you're going to see a database get leaked that is literally the dirt on everybody on the entire planet. And there's nothing you can do about it. And so that's freaky. That's really freaky to me. And you got Microsoft saying that they don't collect personally identifiable information through telemetry. But here's the thing. The dump files in the Windows error reporting system isn't considered that same telemetry system. So in telemetry collects MAC addresses, PC ID, IP addresses, internet provider. All that stuff is stored for like everything that it reports, right? Even when you click on an app, people don't know this, but if you open an app, just double click on something and open it, it sends a packet to Microsoft saying that you opened Notepad.exe when you opened it. And it tells them how long you had it open, how long was it in focus versus out of focus, and when you closed it. That without you disabling that in telemetry, that is the default behavior of Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Crazy.
So it's not a keylogger. It's not going to tell you, although it will show arguments. So if you pass sensitive information to the arguments of the executable, when you're clicking it, like you click a shortcut and it passes a whole bunch of command line arguments, they do record all those command line arguments. And if you want to see this data, you just go to the Microsoft Store and install something called, Telemetry Data Viewer. And then you have to enable a check mark in settings that allows you to view the telemetry. And then you can go through all the XML blobs and see everything that's being reported to Microsoft. And it is a lot of data. It's a lot of data, dude. Like I went and looked at it and I was like, dude, it would be hard to go through this like without a robot or a filter or a script or something to like search for stuff of value. And so Microsoft now gives you the option to disable some telemetry stuff, but the problem is you can't disable it all. Even when I disabled every single option in a VM, the telemetry viewer still showed routine telemetry showing up like every couple of seconds.
Crazy.
So
Joggle in the chat here says Jay's 2 cents posted a video saying Microsoft's not an OS company but an advertising analytics company. I mean, that's what a lot of like software as a service companies really are at the core of it. Everybody ought to be thinking in that way as like a media company, right? So that's of course it's a use case data collection and analytics. Yeah, of course. I mean, they're on 95% of all electric, like, desktop machines and whatever. Like, of course. That's
look at Google, right? Look at Google and their entire business model. If you look at Google and you ask yourself, how do they profit? Because they give away all these services, right? It's like Gmail and unlimited storage, Google Drive and like a free terabyte of storage, YouTube, unlimited uploading HD 4K videos. Like I think my entire library uploaded to YouTube is like 200 or 300 terabytes, right? Like it's insane. It's a lot. And actually, no, it's more than that. It'd be more than so a little bit more than that. Anyways, crazy amounts of data Microsoft or Google is storing on my behalf, and it's all free, right? No, think about this. They have to make more money off me on average than all of my data stored on their platform, which means they still have to be profitable. Otherwise, that model wouldn't work. So they're literally giving me hundreds of terabytes of storage across all of their platforms, all the processing power to encode and decode video and to sort through my email and get spam out and everything, all that power, memory, and hard drive space. And I am still, from the data that they gather from me using those services, I am making them more money than them giving me all those services for free. So when you start to think about the value of a user, we are all little, like it's the Matrix and we're all little batteries, right? We're all little cash machines, just
totally
printing out money for these companies.
Data.
Yep.
And whatever.
And then the thing is, use it for targeted advertisement, right? Yeah, the more targeted your advertisement is, the more advertisers are willing to pay.
Yeah, man, like people, privacy, blah, 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 blah. Like if you have been on the internet at all from the day that it went public to today, like at all, you're a joke if you think that any of your data is private. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter if you're on Linux. I don't care if you're using whatever Tor, Onion browser, Brave, whatever. You could be using the most locked down, like, unless you're completely air gapped, like, and not actually connected to the internet at all.
You're not going to have internet.
It is outrageously naive to believe that you are at all anonymous or private on the internet.
Yeah. Same thing with VPNs.
Period.
People think VPNs make you anonymous. It's like, hold on.
All it's doing is making it more difficult.
Very true.
Anybody
That's
with the air gap, I mean, I don't know. I skimmed a word on chat and it derailed my train of thought. But like, it's if anybody with enough effort, they'll find you. Like they'll all anonymized data. Like we're very routine creatures, and so like they will eventually be able to figure you out.
It's so complicated. The scope. It's like, how could you expect anybody to track all those metrics? You couldn't.
Like, that's not to say that if this is a concern for you that you shouldn't try, but it's just like any other sort of hacking or like password management or anything like that. Anybody who with enough effort is going to get your password or is going to enter into your secure whatever if they really have a mind to do so. And all you can really do, whether it's your home or your network or whatever, all you can do is make it as difficult as possible so that the effort to break in isn't worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? You gotta just make it more difficult than the value of whatever it is they're trying to get that's inside there.
100%. I am 100% in agreement with you, because it starts with electronic means to do it, like hacking in, observing data, finding flaws in the software.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you are a good social engineer and you've got time and you got a pair of cojones on you, internal or external, you are going to be able to get into any system.
Can they hack offline systems? If there's a human involved, yes.
Yep. And they have.
Yeah. I mean, look at a good example of this is the movie Mission Impossible. Okay, they have an air gap system that is not. Well, the very first one. The whole point of them is hacking into this computer that has no external connections, right?
Yeah.
But there's a human involved. There's a few people involved, actually, a few humans involved, and they make the one guy who's supposed to be the only person allowed to use this workstation. They figure out how to make him sick. They figure out his passwords and stuff. Like,
oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
They watch him log in the first time from
wasn't the computer in like a temperature controlled room?
Yeah,
with
the
like
vault and stuff, all of that. Yeah,
I remember that.
But even still, like the main hiccup is that it's not connected externally. Like there's no outside connection to this machine. It is a standalone air-gapped system.
Yep.
The vault and stuff that it's in, that's just extra fluff. The whole main point is that there's no internet connection to it. Mm-hmm. And so, but what do? They watch him from the vent as he punches in his password. The other gal makes him sick. They sneak in, and like there are bunches of different ways they could have figured that out. They get his voice print, right? They need that in order to all this stuff. So it's like if there is at all a human involved in the process, then yes, it can be hacked. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like here's does anybody here watch Deviant Olum? Or any of so the guys that go to not NAB, what am I thinking of? The thing in Las Vegas where all the hackers get together, DreamHack. Is it
no, that's a land. You mean
oh god, it's on the tip of my tongue.
God bless it. The security one.
Yeah, it happens like every. It's a security convention.
You're not even supposed to bring like your cell phone and stuff to it.
Yeah, like you will get, if you bring anything, you'll get hacked. If you even like somebody takes a picture of your key, they'll hack you.
It's in Vegas every year.
I just watched a video on
DEFCON. That's it.
Yep.
Jeez, thank you, Teal Josh. Holy cow.
Deviant Olum is one of the really well-known guys that comes and speaks at that event, and he's a penetration tester. He literally, companies pay him to test their security, and he'll literally go to a company at like 10 or 11 at night or right in broad daylight, and he'll use all of his tools and all of his social engineering and everything to try to work himself as far into the company as he can before he's arrested. And he goes all the way to the point of arrest. They literally do come in, security holds him, and the police come to arrest him and everything. And then they basically bail him out and say, "Hey, thank you. You found the flaws in our system, or you confirmed that our system worked if they caught you." He never gets caught. So wow. It's pronounced Olaf, not Olum. I've never heard it ever pronounced Olaf. As a matter of fact, he's introduced as Deviant Olum at the event. So, I mean, if that's how you pronounce it in your country, that's cool. But everything I've watched is Deviant Olum. So until I see otherwise, I'm not going to believe one person in chat. But anyways, he does some crazy hacks. But for air gap systems, here's how you get to an air gap system, right? All you have to do is know who has access to that system, right? You just have to find some Patsy that does have physical access to that system. And then what you do is you drop a USB memory stick or a floppy disk or something in the vicinity of where they're going to be entering or exiting the building.
Yeah.
And then what they're going to do is they're going to pick that thing up and they're going to go and stick it in a computer because they're curious. You'd be surprised how many people, even though they're trained not to do that, curiosity gets the cat. They'll go plug it in. And then all you have to do is have it pop up something that says, oh, this is this is the secure encryption key for the air gap server. Do not allow this to fall in the hands. Please deliver this immediately to security. And then what you do is you dress up in a Securitas outfit. You wait outside the door. You know what the person looks like. They're walking outside the door. You say, hey, okay, I'm security. Yeah, they just sent me over to pick up that disk triggered a thing in the system. I'm here to retrieve that disk from you. And the disk told them to hand it over to security. So they give you the disk and then you walk off. Well, now that disk had dumped everything off of the local network, the name of the network, authentication keys, that computer that was authenticated. So even if that network inside of the company is air gapped from the internet, you now have information on that internal network. So now you can refine it again and you can find the next employee or the next weakness in the system and try to trick them into running something, or even opening like an email attachment or something on one system and then putting that on a floppy disk or a memory stick and taking it to another system, thinking that what they're doing is what the company wants them to do. And so you can trick people. Like it can take a lot of attempts. It can take a lot of research, but all you have to do is just trick one person into doing something that they think that they're doing the right thing and they think they're following the rules of the company, but in reality, they're screwing everybody. And so in this does work. Like when I was at Microsoft, I'd receive not a ton, but let's say 3 phone calls to my office a month that would be from security. And I would know immediately it's not security because the number was not 65,000, because in our internal system, security called you. It's from the extension 65,000. And it would always be some weird number, or it'd be NA, unknown caller. And they get on the phone and be like, hi, who am I speaking? And I'd play along. I'd be like, yeah, this is Jerry. Jerry, this is security from Microsoft. Please repeat your alias. I'm like, why do you need my alias? Like you just called me. You should know my alias. Like you looked me up in the gal, and I'd be like, oh, what's my name or whatever. And they're like, no, we're doing a security audit and we need you to verify some information. They're like, please go on your computer and type ipconfig /all. And it'd be a guy. It wouldn't be like, the typical, hey, no, you $5 Walmart gift card. No, this is like a dude speaks perfect English, sounds like a security guard. Can you please go run this on your computer? Okay, what we need you to do is, can you give us the backup key, like the backup key that's presented when you run this command for the drive encryption software that we had, BitLocker. He tried to talk you into giving him that key, giving him that BitLocker key, because then he could use that, because he already had compromised the local network. He was trying to get an employee to basically hand him over the credentials so that he could actually decode the BitLocker and gain access to any computer on the network, because that BitLocker key was stored up in the security cloud and it was only used for you as an employee to unlock your hard drive. And you knew something was off, because at the same time you're thinking, well, what could somebody malicious do with that? It's not an IP, it's not a username, it's not a password. It's just a big block of ones and zeros. It's like a page of text, right? And they're like, oh, we need to verify that you have the right one. Can you give us this information? Of course I didn't at that point, and I reported them to security, but that would happen like 3 times a month. I'd get somebody trying to give them the BitLocker key. I had somebody that was trying to get me to open up a port on Telnet. So he actually walked me through step by step from the command. Like, okay, we need to test to make sure that your computer is secure on the network. Please drop out and run this command. And it was basically the DISM command to install Telnet if it wasn't already installed. And then he wanted me to set myself up as a Telnet server. And then he wanted me to set up a VPS connection to his IP out on the internet. Now, if I did that, he would be able to come back in through Telnet and be able to execute and have full internal access to the corporate network through an encrypted tunnel that I created to him. So even though he can't connect to anything because we're behind a firewall, I would be connecting to him, so that would circumvent the firewall. And unfortunately, these tactics work. There was a lot of people. I know our admin got hit by it and they fell for it, and they gave an attacker access to the network. Security actually had to do a whole thing where they got us all together at the conference center and were like telling us, like, these are the shady things. Make sure that if somebody calls your phone at 65,000, never give them anything more than just your alias. Don't provide it. If they ask for a password, we would never do that. If they ask for access to your machine remotely, we'd never do that, because security already has remote access to every single machine. The second you join the domain, you basically agree to have an account put on your computer that allows security to log into your machine and kick you out and lock it and do whatever they want. They're the only ones that have system level. And so if they're asking you for shit to connect to your computer, they're obviously fraudulent because they would just do it. About the best they'll do is security will call you to warn you if they're about to log in so you don't lose any work.
Sure.
But they're not going to ask you to like set things up and stuff to make it possible for them to connect to you. But people fell for it. And it's how a lot of people got into Microsoft and stole source code and stole various everythings because they didn't even think that there was something going on. They're like, oh, okay, I typed the commands. Okay. And they're like, okay, well, those are the responses. Okay. We verified that your computer's secure. You are who you say you are. Okay. You have a nice day. And then you just go about your day and you're like, well, okay, I did, obviously they called me on my internal phone. So it's got to be a Microsoft employee, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be security. He said he was security and he knew things about the network that you wouldn't think an average person would know. We also caught a guy who broke into our wireless network from under the building 26 parking garage. There was a dude sitting down there like every day. Everybody was talking about it. It was literally like the most conspicuous looking white van ever. And they were under building 26 and they were cracking the web key back in the day. And so what they would do is they'd sit down in the parking garage and they'd wait for everybody to come out and go smoking. And when they were out smoking, they'd play around on their cell phones. And each time they were on their cell phones, they were connecting and disconnecting to the corporate Wi-Fi. And them connecting and disconnecting actually allowed them to sniff all the traffic from all those transactions going back and forth between all the smokers, because inside of the building, it was like a Faraday cage, but out here it wasn't. And so they were able to collect enough data there to actually break into the Wi-Fi network. And it literally, that van was down there for a good week or two before security finally came down and got the Redmond police and arrested them. And we still don't know what they were doing. Like it was just advertised. If you see a suspicious vehicle in the same place for a prolonged period of time that doesn't have the proper badging on it or doesn't look like it belongs, report it to security immediately, because this was happening.
Wow.
We also had people that were physically stealing laptops. Dude, this story is like, they should make movies on this shit because it's so much easier than the movies make it seem. Like, I think I told you about the laptop and projector theft that happened with the garbage company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So people basically just tailgated people in the door. This was such a big deal.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
It was such a big deal that they had to call like, a huge conference meeting like at the conference center, and they even had to bring it up a second time at the corporate event where we're literally every Microsoft employee that's local is in a stadium, and then the event's broadcasted live to all the other campuses around the world. And they had to dedicate a section where they had a security guy come out and say, hey, listen, do not let people tailgate you in the building. If they have a badge, make them scan it. If they don't have a badge or they forgot it in their car, tell them to go around to the desk. Do not let anybody follow you in. Even if you know who they are, do not let them into the building. The reason they had to iterate this is because people would just scan their badge, walk into the building, and then the soft closed door would be like, and somebody could walk up like 5 seconds later and grab the door and come in behind you.
Yep.
And so what had happened this time that really sparked them, getting serious about this was Microsoft got in trouble for losing a bunch of Intel's prototype hardware because somebody actually just walked in the door. And with garbage cans, they were they appeared to be the maintenance people, although the maintenance people also robbed Microsoft, so I could tell that story too. But the more interesting one was the people that just posed as janitors. All they had was just a big garbage can, like 50-gallon garbage can full of like loose cardboard. And so what they do is they just wait next to the door, sitting there smoking a cigarette, and then an employee would come along, he'd scan his badge, open the door, and then they would hold the door, or even the employee would hold the door for them because they're like, hey, could you hold that door sometimes? And they just hold it because they're like, oh, they're the janitors, right? We see them around all the time. But they're all wearing just a regular jumpsuit. Like, there's nothing, you don't know if it's them or not. So they came in the building. And the security footage, because they have cameras in all the hallways at Microsoft in most of the buildings, this guy had the balls to literally come in. He walks down a hallway and he's like just jiggling doorknobs on closed offices. He happens upon a lab. He opens the door on a lab, walks in, and just starts unplugging laptops and dumping them into his garbage can. He pulls all the cardboard out. And they got most of it on camera. They didn't get the part where he stole the computers. Like, they just know what was missing when he came in.
Okay.
Because that room wasn't allowed to have a camera because it's a secure area that has like intellectual property stuff that cannot be under surveillance. So he literally opens the door, tailgates a dude in, goes into this lab, unplugs all these laptops. It's like a dozen laptops. And then he steals the projector out of a conference room. So after he stole all the laptops, he goes across the hallway to a conference room, gets up on the table and unscrews the thing and just pulls the whole projector down, throws it in the garbage can, takes a bunch of that cardboard that he had. He can't fit it all now, but he takes a couple pieces of cardboard. He puts it over everything and like garbage and stuff on top of it. And he just wheels it down the hallway, passes by like a dozen employees, opens the door, goes out the side door, goes into the parking garage, opens up his truck, and just takes the whole garbage thing or whatever and just pushes the whole can up into the bed of his truck, which looks suspicious as hell.
Jeez,
but nobody
man.
thinks about it because they're like,
you know
he's the
what though?
garbage guy, right?
Well, and then that's just it. Like somebody in the chat here is like, Farcult says you have to have balls to just go and do it. It's astonishing how much you can do. There is so many things that you could do when you just walk with authority, or it was like you wear like a high vis vest and a clipboard. You can and you walk with a like body language of authority, or or boredom, like you've done this a million times.
Yes.
Nobody will stop you. Or they'll ask, oh, hey, what are you doing here? You just say, hey man, look, I'm just here for a job. I'm doing something. I mean, you should be prepared with like something that makes sense or whatever. But man, you can get away with so much with
confidence.
When you just confidence.
Yep.
Like, and it goes for anything from getting into secure places or weird back doors and stuff, where employees only kind of thing. Oh, I'm just trying to get to the blah, 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 don't worry about, okay. Most folks just try and keep their head down and do their job. They're not about to stop somebody or make a fuss for fear of being wrong.
Yep. Well, one of the videos I watched with that deviant Olem guy, he just walked up to a guy and bummed a smoke off of him. He doesn't even smoke. He just walks up, but he's smoking outside the door. He walks up to him and he's got his maintenance outfit on, because that's one of his personas he does. And he even has like a badge that he created by looking up pictures of the company's badge online and then just printing out a shitty copy of it.
There you go.
Nobody's going to look closely, right? And so he walks up to the guy and he goes, hey, you got an extra smoke or whatever? The guy's like, oh yeah, sure. And they're sitting around. He's like, yeah, man, I've been here all day. I've been waiting for, my other guy to come around. He's got the card key to get us into the building. It's like, man, I'm going to get in so much trouble. He's like, man, I was supposed to be in there like an hour ago, and they got this test going on, and he's like, yeah, it really sucks, and the guy sitting there smoking. He's like, yeah, no, I feel you or whatever. And he's like, all right, well, I gotta go or whatever. And he's like, okay, you have a good one. And he doesn't try to follow him or anything. He just sits there, and the dude actually turns around and goes, hey, I can just let you in. And he's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, bro. Yeah, my guy will be along, and he's got a badge. He can get it himself. And he's like, okay, thank you. And he just lets him in the door, and then he goes, because now he's a smoking buddy. Even though he didn't even smoke the cigarette, he just held it the whole time. And he goes into his office or whatever, and the guy just keeps going. He just keeps going by himself, just unabridged in this building behind a secured area. And he didn't even have to ask the guy to let him in the building. He just inferred that he needed to get in the building or he was in trouble, and then built a rapport with the guy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy how simple it is, right?
Easy.
Yeah. And it's like, as long as you don't look suspicious, you can do that in a lot of places. Like, I remember even at Microsoft, like, people, if they knew your face, they would just let you into the building.
And usually the risk is very minimal. Like, mostly, even if you get caught, you're probably not going to go to jail. They'll just politely ask you to leave. They'll have security walk. Oh, you can. Oh, my bad. I got into a place I should not have been. I was just curious, just poking around, like, no big deal. They might hold you for a while and grill you for a bit or something, but most of the time they'll just let you go. Like, you didn't do anything really wrong.
Dude, you're
just someplace you're not supposed to be.
I got security to let me into the building when my badge didn't work. I literally
they should have escorted you to a place to get your badge redone or something, 100%. But they probably didn't.
Nope. I was literally just down in the bottom of building 26. I got out of my car and I accidentally demagnetized my badge. It happened a couple times when I was working there, where the badge has an RFID, but it also has this like coil inside of it, this like magnetic RFID chip in it. And some of the stuff uses the RFID and some of it uses the smart chip. Yeah. And to unlock the doors, it uses the RFID. Well, I fried the RFID in this thing, and we figured out what it was. It was where I was setting it in my car. I had a car PC, and there was a high voltage power supply, and it was like creating a magnetic field or something.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So, but other people had problems too, right? They said, don't put your card key on top of speakers. Don't put it near magnets. Like, there's a whole bunch of shit they weren't supposed to do. So I demagnetized my card. Well, when you demagnetize your card, you walk up and you scan it on the badge reader, and it doesn't do anything. Right. It doesn't even energize. Like, the badge reader's just
it won't even like beep wrong or anything, right?
Even beep,
there's just nothing.
So I did that. I went and walked in the building, and there's a security guard posted there because that's a higher security building. And I'm scanning. I'm like, it's not letting me in. I'm like, damn it. And then I blow on it like an idiot. And I'm like, I'm not trying to cheat to get into the building, by the way. My card legitimately doesn't work. And I said, the security guard was standing there. I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm late for a meeting. And he's like, okay, let me see your badge. And he takes my badge. It's got my picture on it. It's got my name. It's got my employee ID. Yeah. But it doesn't work with the scanner. So he just looks at the badge, and then he goes, okay, sir. And he opens up the door and lets me in.
Jeez.
Like, and this isn't a security guard. Well, actually, that's not true. He's seen me before. But then again, I could get him to see me before just by walking between buildings and never going inside of them, right?
Right.
Walk around my badge.
Yeah, you just walk around the campus. Even just oh, I recognize this guy.
Yeah, and he just let me into the building, and I didn't even think about it at the time because I really was late to a meeting. I got there late in the morning, and I didn't even think about it. But it's like after that, I was like, dude, anybody could have just walked up to that dude with a badge. They didn't even have a smart chip in it, and you could have had it. He never flipped the card around and looked to the back of it or anything. He just looked at my picture on the front. And you can get a picture of a blue badge on the internet. You can go to YouTube and find a million pictures. You could just drag into Photoshop and create your own card.
Yep.
So it makes you wonder. It's like there's a lot of security theater that goes on at these companies. So just remember this data that I told you that's of critical importance to you and your privacy can be, I don't want to say super easily, but if somebody is dedicated and somebody is willing, they can get to it. And here's the other thing too. If that security officer said no, he's like, nope, you can't get in the building. You go around. He's not going to call the cops. He's not going to be like, no, please come over and arrest him and like tackle me to the ground and try to hold me. No, if it goes wrong, I just walk away.
Yeah, most of the time. Like I said, they might hold you for a little while to grill you or something. But if they didn't catch you actually doing something really weird or bad, they're not going to call the cops. Like you might get trespassing. Maybe, but the hassle, the paperwork, nobody wants to deal with that crap. So they're just going to scare you a little bit most of the time. They're going to pull you back and then read you the riot act for a little while and then let you go. Because what you walked through a doorway, like unless they caught you with something that you shouldn't have like physically on your person, they're probably not going to give a shit.
Yeah, and even so, it's like you could probably just run, right? We're talking about unarmed security here. We're talking about Securitas guys. They don't even have like a baton.
The 2.5.
Yeah, and they're usually like 80-year-old dudes. Like so they're not gonna run you down. They might call the police, but then it's like you could just walk off, right? They're not gonna respond fast enough to do anything. But yeah, it's when you start thinking about stuff that way, you're like, man, this security actually isn't that great. It's like this data's on server that's accessible by employees. These employees routinely leave their workstations unlocked and their doors on their offices open. So if you can gain access to the building and walk around, chances are it's going to be very easy for you to find a computer that you can just sit down at,
right,
and do something. And if you know what you're after, if like you're going in there with intent and you're willing to do this, you probably already know exactly like what types of data you're after and what you're searching for. And so you just have to have a program set up on a USB thumb drive. Go in there, pop it into a computer, push a couple buttons, look out, make sure nobody's coming.
Sure.
And then if somebody starts coming down the hallway or somebody comes into the office or whatever, be like, oh, hey, the name on door. Hey, what's up? Yeah, no, I was just coming by to tell you that, we're gonna be having a census next week or whatever. And I wanted to know what you think about like, the meals that are served in the cafeteria. And you'd be like, well, that's kind of a weird thing, but it could potentially get you out of the situation.
Yep.
Because the person's just like, oh, I'm used to people coming in and out of my office. It happens all the time at a place like Microsoft. It's an open door policy. So you could talk your way out of unless you were sitting on the computer and like literally hacking and the dude walked in and caught you like on his computer under his account.
Right.
Like then he might have something to say about it. But if you're just like standing in the office or you hear him coming down the hallway or you're keeping an eye out and you just stand up and just like, oh, I'm just standing in his office waiting for him. Be like, oh, I was waiting for you. Hey, do you know where that other guy is? Just get the name of the guy down the hallway, right? Hey, do you know where Eric is? Yeah. Right. Like, where's Eric at? Oh, yeah, he's in a meeting right now. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Okay, hey, you take it easy. They won't think twice about you. It's just like, oh, man. So it's one of those things where it's like security theater does work a little bit because you obviously don't see as many hacks as there should be with everybody just knowing this information and knowing the actual risk ratio and everything.
Right.
I mean, we had kids stealing all the soda. I told you guys about that one too, where like there's literally a kid for like months was coming into building 26. We'd see him all the time. We just thought he was a kid he was like 12 or 13 years old. We thought he was the child of one of the employees there because it wasn't uncommon to see, people's rugrats running around when they bring them to work and stuff.
Yeah.
And he would always be in the kitchen area playing Icebreaker, which was this arcade machine, drinking Mountain Dew. And then before he left, he would just fill his bag with like Mountain Dew and walk off. And you're not supposed to do that. Like there's actually a policy at Microsoft that says you're only allowed to take open cans out of the building. You're not allowed to take sealed cans out of the building.
Right.
And but this kid did it all the time. We just didn't think nothing of it because we're like, oh, it's somebody's kid. Who cares, right?
Yep.
And we find out like months later, security like sends out a notice and they're like, if you notice suspicious activity of people looting the refrigerators in the commons areas, say something. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, was that little kid? We never saw him again. So it was totally that little kid. He finally got caught. He was coming in there like every day.
That's
and like people knew who he was kind of. They were friendly with him and like, oh, hey, playing Icebreaker. How you doing? Hey, what's up, man? Playing his little Icebreaker game. And he was looting, like he probably got like 1,000 cans of Mountain Dew before they caught him.
Oh, man. Wasn't there was some kid who like lived in the Apple campus for like a year.
I heard about that, but I thought it was like an urban legend.
I want to say it was legit. Everybody just assumed that he worked there and stuff because it's like, well, you got into the building, but he like lived in the building, like he never left. He like lived there for maybe not a year, but it was quite a while, like a good number of months at least, in the Apple campus, and it like took a while to get caught. Let's see if I can find it. I muted myself back then.
There was did you hear about the guy that like lived in a mall? Like he found like an empty utility space in a mall where like nobody went there anymore because it was walled in from the inside. And so he found an external entrance that he could get into it. And he literally like built a loft and like stairs up to this little cubby hole. And over like 4 years, he brought in couches and gaming systems and screens. And it was basically like, it's where he lived. He lived there, like him and like 3 other friends used it as like their pad to go and hang out. And one day somebody heard the sound that they were making from inside of the mall. Security looked around, they found the secret entrance, and they came inside and arrested them. Wow. and took everything. And I think they kind of got off the hook easy. They did get some charges, but 4 years, these guys were just literally going in and out of a crawl space in a mall. Like if they had to just push the sheetrock through, they could have just walked into the mall completely and have free reign. And they went complete, and nobody saw them. It took 4 years for somebody to catch one of them going into the space or hearing the noise to actually go find them. That's crazy. Like, and I'd imagine the same thing could happen at Microsoft, because I used to sleep at Microsoft all the time. Like when we had a crunch, I had a cot. I actually had a cot in my office that I would unfold and I'd lay down and take a nap for a couple hours.
Yeah. I'm sure people either sleeping at their, or I mean, look, man, when you have like a gym and showers and stuff like that, there are going to be people who live in their office for a while. Like that's, I mean, come on, you have to expect. And who's really going to notice? You could probably pull that off as a legit employee. You could probably pull it off for a long, long time and nobody would notice.
Yeah. And being building 27, the building adjacent to building 26 where I worked, had a full like gym with a locker room with showers and everything. So because I know every once in a while, like if we went and rode bikes during lunch, and we got sweaty, we would go over there and take a shower and put on a spare change of clothes. So it's like, and you have a kitchen area that always has food. It always has drink. You know, it's like you basically have everything you need to like survive. All you have to do is not look too dirty and not look too grungy and look like you belong there.
Yeah. So there's you find well, I think the story that I may have blew this out of proportion. The story that comes closest that I'm seeing is they're calling him a teen. He lived at the AOL headquarters in Palo Alto for 2 months while trying to build a startup. And then there's talk about like people living at Google HQ. Technically, you're not supposed to live at the office, but people got around that by living in their cars in the parking lot, I guess.
It's also easy to get usernames and passwords too. That's another thing that people underestimate. Because here, let me ask you guys a question. To anybody in here that works in an IT environment where you like go into a conference room and you plug your laptop into an HDMI, like how many of you done that? That's really common to do, right? In a company. They make cables now. Make cables now that actually what do you got?
Oh no, the cables. Like I've stumbled across this dude on it. I stumbled on it on TikTok, but the guy makes they're like USB cables.
Yep.
That have, and at first, like his first prototype looked a little weird. Like you're never gonna assume that this is like a legit like a charging cable. But over time, like 2-3 iterations of it, now it looks like an official
100%
Apple or Anker charging cable, but it's got like these little electronics in the thumb part of it. So like the wide end, this piece, he's got all kinds of little chips and stuff back in this housing area that it's like super secret hacking break stuff. I don't know exactly what all it can do, but it's pretty powerful stuff.
On Amazon, you can buy a cable right now. I should go find the link for it. just because
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
cool novelty, but it's like you can use it for bad stuff. And so all it is a USB pass through. It's really small. It just you plug the USB cable into one side, and then it covers up the USB port. So it's like you slide it on, and then it snaps over the existing USB cable, so it just looks like you put a new tip on the cable. And what it does is you plug that into the computer, and what it does is it passes through the PNP ID of the keyboard and registers to the computer as not a device. It just passes through the keyboard, but then it becomes a keylogger. And every single thing that's typed on that keyboard, and there's one for a mouse too. Everything that you type on that keyboard, or if you do the mouse when you move around, it's all logged into local memory. Or you can also have it connect with a Wi-Fi. It's got like its own little Wi-Fi network that it can create that's secure, so it doesn't broadcast. And if you're within range of it, you can have it actually send you the keystrokes in real time. And I want to say it's only like a $60 or $70 thing.
Wow.
And so all you have to do is, like, if you were at Microsoft, is you just, okay, well, your boss went to lunch. You walk in there, you take unplug his keyboard, put the little thing over it, snap it into place, plug it back in. So if he looks back there, he's just going to see the keyboard's plugged into a USB port. He's not going to see anything suspicious.
Yeah.
And it's not going to register any suspicious device. The computer's still going to see it as the exact same PNP ID. There's going to be no new devices that show up. Because it's just a keylogger, and all it's going to do is every single time he pushes a keystroke, it's going to intercept it before it relays it to the computer using that PNP ID and store it into a log file and then broadcast it over that network.
Yeah.
And so if you can't recover it, then you just lose your $60 thing, but you still have the data. But if you can recover it, then it's got a local storage on it too, so that you didn't have to connect to it and do that. So it's like multifaceted. I want to say it's sold by a company called what is that, like Hack 10 or something? Shit, they have a whole YouTube channel where they talk about all their hacking tools that they have. One of the things we used to do as a joke at Microsoft is we went and bought these like little $5, and they still have them, $5 USB sticks. And it's not a pass-through, it's just a USB stick. That's all it is. It just looks like a memory stick. And what it does when you plug it into the computer, it registers as a keyboard and a mouse, a secondary one, and then it can send keystrokes and it can send mouse commands to the computer. And what we did is it just have a random thing. You could put it in a mode with a little switch on the side of it. And sometimes what it would do is just randomly push a random character on the keyboard. So it'd constantly make them make spelling errors as they're typing. There was another one. They just made the mouse do this. The mouse would just go like you had a dirty sensor.
Oh, sure.
Oh, sorry, you can't see, but as I'm shaking my hand back and forth, the cursor's shaking. And so you keep picking your mouse up and like trying to clean the sensor, like wondering why you had this weird jitter. And people wouldn't figure it out. People would not figure it. Like, we had to tell them like what it was because they didn't get the joke. They're just like, oh, my mouse doesn't work. They were like trying different mice. They were trying different keyboards, and they never thought to question this damn USB memory stick that's plugged in. That's not a USB memory stick. And how easy would it be at your work to just plug a USB device into your coworker's computer? Like they have to go pee at some point. They go get a coffee at some point. They can usually know when they leave their office. They leave their office. How hard is it to run in there really quick and shove a USB thing into the back of their computer? It's not hard at all. And then you could just leave it there and be haha, that's a joke. Well, now it's a keylogger that broadcasts on a hidden network.
Right.
Now you got somebody out in the parking lot, that's intercepting all of the traffic through the wall of everything that person's doing on the computer until they find it. And chances are they're never going to find it, especially if it's just a re-ended cable. So it just looks like, when they look at it at first glance, it just looks like a cable going into a USB connector. They can't see that it's a snapped on thing over the top of it, concealing the middleman.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's so when Hack 4, that's what it is, or Hack 5. Thank you. Hack 5 is the YouTube channel. And it's actually, they have a lot of really affordable tools for doing crazy shit. Hey, I want to thank some of our supporters here, though.
Yeah, man,
been very, very patient. Michael Taylor, thank you for the $2.52 super chat. We really do appreciate that support, guys. Jogel, thank you for the $20 super chat. He said, could somebody craft a Watson dump with a Trojan in it that does an overflow or something on a dump parser? Well, there'd have to be a bug in the dump parser that would do that. But yeah, it's not outside the realm of a possibility. What you could do, though, is you could take a dump file and store a UU encoded binary or a virus in one of the fields, and then when you have the debugger extract those fields back into files again and store them on the computer, somebody at some point could accidentally end up executing that.
Yeah.
Somebody, all it takes is just somebody, oh, there's an executable. Oh, what does this do? I'm curious. This just showed up. Let me click on it and open it. And then you would infect that computer. And for those of you that are wondering, Microsoft has a bad history of viruses taking down the entire Redmond campus.
Yeah.
So I already told you guys a million times about the Fun Love story, so I won't go back into that. Microsoft was down for basically a week, and we had to like reformat everything multiple times over, and the entire campus and all testing was down for a week to get rid of a virus that just pops up a dialog box that says you've been fun loved. That's it.
Sheesh.
It's terrible. Hey, Jogel, thank you for the great question. Actually, that is
Yeah, that was good stuff.
That's actually interesting though. Like, yeah, Watson dump file putting a Trojan into it. Like, I never really thought about that, but yeah, it'd be similar buffer overflow to everything else. You just have to find a vulnerability in the debugger. Now, keep in mind the debugging tools are actually really, really well built. Let's see here. Toon Tamasha, thank you for the $2.70 super chat. Said Windows 12. Watch them mandate webcams for mandate webcams for facial recognition to log into your computer. Tried to universal digital ID. Tried to be CBDC 100% tracked. Wait, watch the mandate webcams for facial recognition to log into your computer. Tried to universal digital ID. Tried to CBD. Oh, you're saying all the other ones were tracked or hacked? So 100% tracked. I think they might have meant hacked.
Yeah, I mean, either way.
Yeah, either way. So facial recognition is also something that you can fool.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos on how to 3D print, like to take a stereoscopic picture of a face using the same camera, like the camera that's on your iPhone, for instance, that uses the spatial grid. You can actually scan your face with that camera using an app you download from the App Store, and it gives you the point cloud that the phone sees, and then you can turn that into an STL and print it out on your 3D printer, and it'll look nothing like you. It's a really rough, almost just human-esque looking figure, but it's got the features where they're supposed to be. And then all you have to do is, because it doesn't use your skin tone or anything, because that can change when you get tanned and stuff, so you don't even have to paint it. You can just leave it white PLA.
Yeah, because it's more about the depth data and stuff. It's about the shape. It's not the actual look of your face. Correct. It's about the wiggling bumps and grooves and stuff of it. Yeah.
Or the other one that people have shown too is if somebody is super duper drunk and you want to unlock their phone, all you do is just walk over and just pin their eyelids open and put the phone up to them.
Nice.
Like if they're super passed out, like I mean, you only need about half of their face for iPhone to unlock now.
Oh yeah, because they enabled like the mask stuff.
Yep. So you can all you really need is just like that. Like I've even pushed my mouth up against a pillow before and it let me into my phone. So it wouldn't be hard to just 3D print a mechanism, and I've seen videos of them do that. They can defeat it. So because it's not taking color data in, because the lighting can change so dramatically, and it's using basically an IR camera in a point cloud to figure out the depth of field and stuff. So as long as you can 3D print something that creates that same depth of field and those same features, and they're within the tolerances, you've basically created a key to unlock that phone.
Yeah.
And apparently they use that in the government. Like when you hear about these guys unlocking phones because Apple won't allow them in, that's like one of the tactics they use. If they have the person in custody, they'll take stereoscopic pictures of them, or they'll even get them to look into their phone. Like, hey, can you read this off our phone? Here, read this. And they're like, hey, and it's like they're actually recording their facial data so that they can go print the simulation to feed, or for the simulated thing to feed to the phone, and then that's the key to unlock it. So.
That's why you need PINs or passwords for your phone, because biometric data is not protected by the Fourth Amendment. They can force you to use your thumbprint. They can force you to use your face to unlock stuff, but they can't force you to give up your passwords, like to your email and things like that. That's still like, Fifth Amendment there. You don't have to incriminate yourself, but also like part of their part of the evidence collection stuff. Like you don't have to give them, like you don't have to tell the cops where you've hidden the drugs or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So and the other thing too is if you've ever used like an encryption program like TrueCrypt or VeriCrypt, they actually have a really cool feature in there that's called what is it? It's decoy share. So when you encrypt your data, you actually enter two completely different passcodes. And if you enter one passcode, it goes to it shows completely different data in the encrypted file. So if you were compelled, like somebody put a gun to your head and we're like, decrypt this file or whatever, you can still type in a password that will successfully decrypt it and show the contents, but it won't be the contents that you would see if you typed in the right passcode. Oh,
that's cool. Yeah.
And they do it on alarm systems too. Like my alarm system has a thing where if I enter the right code, it just disarms my alarm. But if I enter the wrong code, it disables my alarm and silently says that I'm in a hostage situation.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Like
unless you know the code I'm entering, because they don't look suspicious. They're both codes that look very, very real, like that you would have. But if I enter that code, it's going to disarm the alarm. You're going to feel comfortable and be like, okay, well, the alarm's disarmed. I'm good to go. But the police are going to know that you're in a hostage situation and approach carefully and quietly. And
Nice.
I know because I
Yeah,
accidentally
that's
put in
cool.
the code wrong once, and they showed up with guns pointed at me like through the freaking window.
Dang,
So
man, what?
yeah, I've tripped my alarm accidentally 3 different times and had 3 different responses. And
Wow.
2 of the times I basically got a gun pointed at me. So yeah, so I know that they're kind of serious around here with home intruders. But the first time I set it off, the alarm actually did go off. Like, it was super loud, and then I was on the phone with the alarm people, and I gave them the password to stand down, but the police had already been dispatched because I thought I was programming a sensor, but I was actually pushing the panic alarm, which said that I was dying basically and incapacitated. And so it sets off the alarm so that they can hear when they're getting close to your house. So if the address is off a little bit, they can home in on it. And so I'm sitting there and I didn't hear the police come up to the window, and the alarm finally goes off because I'm on the phone with the people, and the officer has a gun and a flashlight pointing at me and says, slowly put down the phone and keep your hands where I can see him. And I was like, oh shit.
Jeez.
Yeah, I puckered up pretty hard on that one. And then
Scary
the
stuff,
other time
man.
it happened, I went outside and they had a gun drawn on me. When I set off the silent alarm, they're like, come out of your house. And I'm like, who the fuck are they talking to? Like, you know, and so I opened the door to see what's going on outside, and it's like, nope, they're on my property. They're looking at me. They
Oops.
Yeah, oops. But now they know me. They know, everybody down there knows me. I went down and made it a point to shake all their hands, because all the stuff, you know, being a content creator online, you get death threats and crazy people and fans and parasocial relationship crap. So they all know who I am and where I live and everything. So to help with, you know, the swatting stuff, I have all the paperwork for E91 or for 911, so that it'll pop up and say, oh, this is a scam call if they can't provide this password.
Yeah.
And so you know, it's like, it sucks that you have to do all that stuff as a content creator, because there's so many people out there that just have these weird parasocial relationships like Stan, and you know, if they can't have you, they want to kill you. And it's like, yeah, that's a real thing, man. That's kind of scary. Hey, Pup Shepherd, my man, thank you for the $5 super chat. Wags arf as usual. He said, how are you two today? I'm actually feeling all right today. Yesterday I felt like absolute garbage, but I have to say I actually feel somewhat good today. How about you, Ox? How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. Yeah. Slept well and all that stuff. But
by the way, loving the gray, man, coming into that beard. That is majestic, sir.
Thank you. I
like how it's staying dark out here too. It gives you that nice gradient, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're a hipster wizard. Hey, Puppy said, have you heard of a silicone tapered snake? This has got to be like a butt thing. Is this a butt thing, Pup? You can be honest with us. Tell us in chat. Is this a butt thing? So a silicone tapered snake. You know what? I'm just gonna, because I've fallen for his traps before. I'm just gonna go look. It's not on screen, so I think I can get away with it. All right, silicone tapered snake. Let's see. Okay, disable search safe.
That's a trap.
That's a trap. Well, I didn't hear about it until now, Pup. But Pup, you got your $5 worth, brother.
That's exactly what it seems like it would be, right?
I'm looking in it's called the Doc Johnson In Deep. I'm looking at it right now.
Wow. Of course.
He's just, you know, that guy.
Yeah,
that guy. He's a good supporter, though. He's a good supporter. So not only is he into that stuff, he's also into supporting other creators. So good job, Pup. We love you. I still can't believe he got me to wear that shirt, though. Like I know that's like his crowning achievement, though. So I got to let him have that one. But the fact that he got me to wear a shirt on stream that directly linked to a page that had some pretty interesting pictures on it. I was like, people were just freaking out in chat, like, oh my God, don't go to the thing on the shirt. Don't go. Oh my God, what are you doing? And I was like, oh no. I didn't check before I put it on. But yeah, it's like no shame though, man. Love your kinks, man. Own them. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Hey, anything consensual, it's a go. Have fun, man.
Right.
Like, life's too short to give a shit what other people do. Like, do you?
Buy online. Right after order, obvious price came out. First, do you have any tips to buy online?
Wait, what was that?
So James Janice, with price changing every 5 seconds when buy online, even right after order, obvious can't price monitor 24/7. Do you have any tips to buy online and when to click buy? It doesn't matter. Unless it's like a humongous price difference, just buy it whenever you can. I don't know exactly what it is you're talking about, but generally just buy the best you can afford when you can afford it.
Like big box stores, it's like you walk in, it's like the prices change maybe like once a day or once a week, whereas online, like the prices can change by the hour.
Most big retailers, regardless of whether you buy online or at their brick and mortar stores, will price match within 2 weeks to 30 days, whatever the return window is. They'll usually price match Yeah,
Actually, I didn't really think about that. Yeah, most big box stores do price match now.
Because within the return window, they'll do that because what's to stop you from just returning the item and then buying it again, right, at the lower price? So they'll just price match within the return window usually.
Yeah, I would as far as buying stuff like technology and things like that, it's like there's no way really to predict when the prices are gonna come down, because there's just so many damn variables. Like you can guess, right? You can make a somewhat educated guess, but you're not guaranteed to be sure. So I'm of the mind of, as long as it's something that you want or need right now, and you have the means to get it, then just get it. Because as you wait, you're inevitably going to end up then you'll get it, and then something new will just come out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I try not to get too fixated on, I'm going to wait for the next thing. I'm going to wait for the next thing. I'm going to wait for the next thing. If it's something that I will benefit from, and it's something that I can afford, I'll just do it now. I mean, also within reason. Like, I'm obviously not going to go spend $100,000 for a Honda Civic, right? Like this is getting ridiculous, like with this car shit. But again, there obviously are people that it's worth that much to them. Otherwise, they couldn't sell them for that much. So when you're looking at the prices online, you're like, oh my God, that is so overly priced. So you look at a GPU that's like, supposed to be $700 and it's like $3,000. You're like, man, what a ripoff. Well, just know that there are people that are paying those prices. Otherwise, they wouldn't be those prices.
Yep.
So also, it does mean that much to somebody out there.
There are bunches of like extensions and things you can get for whatever browser of choice that you use that can give you like price data over time. Like Honey or the Capital One has like a shopping.
Oh, fuck Honey. There's scams.
I'm just saying, there's a plethora of them out there.
Doesn't PC Part Picker do that?
Yeah. Theirs is a little.
It's a little wonky.
It's okay, I guess. But yeah, it'll give you price data, like time data or whatever, or pricing data over time.
There's a site that I used. It's been a long time, but there was a site that I don't know if it just did Amazon. But there was a site that I had where you logged in, you basically just put things in a cart, like you had like your little desired items thing, and it would send you an email when they dropped below a certain price.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the site though. It was really cool though, because I'd forget about it, and like 6 months later or whatever, it'd be like, oh, this Logitech mouse is on sale for like $35 or whatever, and then I'd go buy one. Because they hit my target.
Yep. And you get emails and stuff or that kind of things.
Yeah. Hey, Meat Puppet, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, question, will Microsoft force updates to Windows 11 if they haven't already?
No. They'll handle it the way that they did Windows 10 from 7, 8. It'll I can see where people could be like tricked into updating to Windows 11 as part of some sort of like feature update, like as a automatic Windows update sort of a thing. But you aren't. If you're paying attention, you aren't just going to wake up one day and have Windows 11 shoved down your throat. They're more as long as you're on Windows 10. That's, I think, what Microsoft really cares about. Windows 11 is a feature update. Like, it's not a brand new operating system. It was they just did that to follow Apple's naming convention when they stopped using OS X. It's now Mac 11. It's still Windows 10.
Microsoft did do that at first. They got in trouble for that. They were actually pushing Windows 11 to any box that passed the compatibility test without asking the user while they were sleeping.
Right.
So
through the Windows update thing,
Oh, and a matter of fact, yesterday that was in the news. Didn't they just upgrade a bunch of systems that weren't technically compatible with Windows 11 to Windows 11? And then they said their computers were working fine after updating to Windows 11, even though it said they weren't compatible. And Microsoft's official stance was, we're not saying that it's compatible. That was a bug, and we're going to fix that.
I saw a thing where they got Windows 11 running on an old P4.
Like, oh, really? I wouldn't have thought of P4, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey, Pup, thank you for another $5 super chat. He said, on a technical note, we used to assist at work, but now an update put in the MS store and requires an MS account. Ratings dropped. So sad.
Yeah.
Wait, so put it in the MS store and requires an MS account. So we used to quick assist at work. Wait,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. Pup, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, what
is quick assist?
Quick assist? And then them requiring the MS. Oh wait, but now an update put it in the MS store and requires an MS account. Ratings dropping. Okay, so I'm thinking this is like an app or something, maybe.
Yeah, some.
Yeah, that would make sense. You guys are freaking awesome. I will say though that as far as the update stuff, Windows 11 was for a period of time forced onto Windows 10 boxes, and that pissed off a lot of people. So they did change that policy. You're not going to just wake up. It'll pop up a thing on the screen saying that you are compatible with Windows 11. It'll even download it, but you have to actually initiate the install. However, the thing that happened the other day is a bug. The one where systems were auto upgrading again, and even ones that were incompatible, that was a bug, and Microsoft acknowledged that and said they're going to fix it. I mean, that does little good to the people that got force upgraded to Windows 11, so hopefully they'll be compensated in some way.
I mean, you can always just downgrade. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I think, what do you have, 30 days? They even put a timer on it. How stupid is that? Like you only have, I think it's 30 days
to get around that too. Like, come on.
Any
of the weird shit that Microsoft wants you to do, there's always some way of getting around it.
That is true. There always is. You're right.
Oh, you don't have a TPM? Well, too bad. Yeah. I can get around that shit too.
Also, for Windows updates, a lot of people think that Microsoft, like if you disable the Windows updates, like you go in and say, oh, I don't want updates installed within 30 days or whatever, and I want to pick when to install them or stuff. Short of doing a metered connection, Microsoft does have a class of update that they will force down to your box no matter what. And that is the virus definitions and the 0-day patches.
Yeah.
So if it's a vulnerability
updates,
because there's a chance that you might be away from your computer, or it might be powered on in a closet somewhere. And if that bug ends up being so severe, like this one that came out a couple of weeks ago, where you can use an Office link to basically just do full-on admin execution locally on the box. In those cases, if a patch comes out, or like Spectre and Meltdown and stuff like that, they're going to eventually push that patch mandatory because because for them, they consider that a huge attack surface, and that you're going to blame Microsoft if your system gets compromised if they had a fix for it. And so they think it's worth the risk to just force that shit down your throat. And I kind of can see it both ways, though. Like, I don't really want them to do that because I want to have control when to install things. And who's to say that I don't have a firewall and I'm not protecting my computer from the internet anyway? So I don't really need that 0-day patch. A lot of people were pissed off with Spectre and Meltdown because it took performance out of your CPU. Like, some people lost up to like 11% of performance
for a little while, but they fixed that too.
Oh, is it good now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought that they were
it was just like, I think it was just a quick, just because it was like a quick and dirty fix. From what I understand, it's not an issue anymore. It was actually fairly quick turnaround of fixing that performance thing, because it was,
I didn't know. That's cool.
It was like Microsoft fixed it from their side, which is what slowed everything down. But then once the hardware guys caught up with microcode or whatever updates and things, I think it fixed that. It's not an issue.
Pup elaborated. You said Microsoft Quick Assist in Windows 10 built-in remote support app. Okay. See, I don't use the built-in remote support stuff. I've always just used remote desktop because I don't let Microsoft on my computers. But no, the remote assist, you said that now it requires a Microsoft account. It didn't before. It could just use a local account.
In the store now, I guess, or something.
See, this is what's stupid is Microsoft now in Windows 11 is requiring. They didn't at the beginning. They didn't require, but now they're requiring a Microsoft account. And I think that's stupid for an operating system. Because one,
I agree.
Do you really want your operating system secured by something that's stored in a database on the internet? Like, I personally don't think that that's the greatest idea ever. And they don't enforce it for servers for that reason, because no company that's running servers is going to want their servers login linked to a token that Microsoft controls.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. And then, like, if you want to log into your computer and it doesn't have access for 30 days, it expires and you have to do an update, which means no internet, you don't log into your box. So I find these all like really terrible things. So I'd still want to have a local account. So if they enforce that rule moving forward and they don't allow me, even in the Pro SKU, to create a local account on my box without having a Microsoft account, I'm probably just going to roll back to Windows 10, because I am not a big fan of Windows 11, as you guys probably already know. There are some things it gets right, but the thing is, the only reason I upgraded to it was for the hardware accelerated Android emulator. Which now it looks like some of the other Android emulators on the market are being upgraded to be hardware accelerated also. So that's not really a big requirement. Plus, they severely limited it to their marketplace, and you have to hack the ever living shit out of it to be able to install Android apps from anywhere else. And then the other reason I did it was for auto HDR, which I don't even need on my computer upstairs because I only have HDR displays up here. So auto HDR, and the other one was direct storage, which is just now starting to come into play. And direct storage is really cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, that feature alone, if you're a gamer, is probably worth upgrading to Windows 11. But for me personally, until that's like super proliferated and like every game supports it, because the game has to support it. You're not going to gain any performance advantage unless the game was designed from the ground up to use it. But once that happens in the next year or two, then it'd probably be worthwhile to upgrade to Windows 11. But until then, I think the cons outweigh the pros big time. And I think the people that like it, the majority of them that I've asked, like, why do you like about Windows 11? They just like that the UI is sleeker and smoother. And honestly, for me, I don't,
Whatever.
it's take it or leave it, right? It's not, that doesn't really affect my experience.
I have Windows 11 on my work machine, Windows 10 on my personal machine, and like it really makes no difference. Like the only thing that really gave me a hiccup was the changing of context menu when you right click on a file or folder or whatever.
And I already hacked it through the registry to get back the Windows 10 one.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it took a little bit to like get used to the little icons or whatever, but other than that, it's like, okay, it was easy. It's not whatever. It really has not changed my workflow whatsoever. It hasn't changed literally anything about how I interact with the computer.
Well, didn't he give you an extra click though? That's the thing I didn't like about it, is like when you click on the desktop, you have to right click and then you have to go to more options to get the rest of them. Whereas in Windows, 10,
for some of those things. Yeah, for some of those things. Yeah, that's true. They did hide some of it, but for the more like 90% of the most common things you're doing with files and folders and stuff, that it's all right there. Yeah.
I hate how slow the emoji menu is too. In Windows 11, like when you hit the Windows key and you push period to get the emoji window to pop up, it's so much slower than the Windows 10 version. Like the Windows 10 version,
I hadn't noticed.
I could push that, type the word of the emoji, hit enter, and it would work 100% of the time in Windows 10. In Windows 11, I already documented and opened a bug, and they acknowledge the bug. But it's like if you do it really quick and you type and hit enter, it'll either not select an emoji, it won't even search the emoji, or it'll grab the wrong emoji because the UI is still updating and moving stuff around as the input's coming in. And it fucks up things. So like it slows me down so much because I use emojis in a lot of my online communication, and I've gotten it to the point where I can type emojis like damn near as efficiently as I can the words.
Right.
So, but now Windows 11 has slowed me down significantly, so I find myself waiting.
Isn't there a keyboard shortcut to bring up the task manager? I can't recall exactly what it is. Because that's what it is. Control Shift Escape. That's it. Do that instead of right clicking on the taskbar, because they did change that. You can't right click and go to task manager from right clicking the taskbar, but like
they also got rid of
or Windows X
Z or
Windows X for the
that's it,
that different dialog box for the task. Like instead of right clicking on the start button, you can hit Windows X.
Yeah, that gives you the alternative start menu. Like
that's how you get it, like the device manager and task manager and settings and stuff.
I love that one. That's a great menu, by the way.
Yeah.
They just I just feel like they got rid of some functionality to better like support a cleaner UI and touchscreen. That's another thing I noticed why they're going with like the graphics and the slightly larger fonts and stuff like that.
Couldn't you just pin the task manager to your taskbar if you wanted it that bad? Then all you got to do is click the little computer button. Boop, I just did it. Yep, it works.
Yeah, there's actually a cool thing in Windows 11. So Windows 11, if you do, is it Windows D? No, that's the desktop. Which one is the one that
no, everything minimized. What happened?
Oh, no, just hit it again. They'll come back.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so no, it's Windows G. If you do Windows G, it opens up the game menu, the Xbox game overlay.
Oh, God. And no, go away.
No, just hit Win G again and it'll go away.
And it came up on my second monitor. That was weird.
The cool thing that you can do in here that not a lot of people know about because Microsoft does a piss poor job of advertising stuff is you can add gauges in the widget menu. So if you go to widgets, you can say like you want the resources.
PC performance and stuff.
So you open up resources and then it'll show you like, what OBS Studio is using, the impact on the system.
Vista, you could have all that data like pinned to the side of your bar. It's like a little boing.
You can still do it.
That's cool.
Do it. So what you do, and it's not obvious. So if you hit Win G and bring it up, then you click on that little window, the widget menu, drop it down, say like I want resources. Then once you have resources, you're like, well, I still have to open the game menu to look at it, right? So what you do is you just click the little pin up in the bar. There's like a little you can pin it, and if you push the pin and you close the menu, it stays. So like any of those things that you open, if you click the pin, now when you hit Windows G to go back to the desktop, that widget is now embedded into your desktop. Isn't that cool?
That is neat.
So, and you can actually go through and change the background transparency and all that stuff by clicking on like the little gauge, the slider icon that's next to the pin. Yeah. And you can go through and change like all the background colors and everything like that, and what the specs is for each one of them. But when you hit G and you go away, it stays on the desktop. So like as I'm doing everything, I can still see an overlay with Edge is using this much percentage, and then you can do it for your GPU and everything, and it'll just stay on top of the desktop. But you can still put a window on top of it, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, if you put a window on, oh no, it stays top level. So like no matter what is on your desktop, that will always be above it.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I used to use this because you can if you load up like the hard drive and the network, there's like a couple different widgets. You can make a minimalist mode where they're just tiny. They're just these tiny little things, and you just put them along the bottom edge or the top edge of the screen, and it's actually really helpful.
Right on.
Yeah, I didn't notice any major performance degradation by using them either. Which the old widgets in Vista, they like slowed everything down to a creep and halt if you didn't have like a
because they were like hardcore. What is it? Hardware accelerated. Like they needed like every bit of your stuff to. That was the whole arrow thing. And holy shit!
What?
Sorry, some fucking video just instantly started playing on a tab, and it scared the living daylights.
I've had that happen.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Do you remember dream scenes? So like in Windows Vista, they had this feature called dream scenes where you could have these animated wallpapers in the background of like waterfalls.
Oh, sure. Oh, yes, I remember that. They were ridiculous though. Like it was very, very demanding. I remember this. I didn't know that's what they were called, but I remember the live wallpaper thing, and it was very taxing.
Yeah, the feature was literally called Dream Scene. I was there when they made it. And but yeah, I remember it was like it was abusive to your computer, but man, it was kind of cool having a desktop with like all your widgets and everything like that. And you had like this like waterfall going on in the background that was like a perfect loop.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was cool. And then there's another company that when they took it out, they made a version of it that you can download on Steam. I can't remember what it's called. It's like
wallpaper engine.
Wallpaper engine. Yeah, wallpaper.
That is really cool. That is a really cool one. There's a lot of neat wallpaper stuff that you can do there.
Actually, Dream Scenes would work good today. Today Dream Scenes would run right on the GPU, right? You wouldn't even need to use the CPU. You could just have that just GPU resident running on your desktop.
Yeah.
Wallpaper engine does it very well. You can find it on Steam. Yeah, I haven't installed it in forever. I don't know if it's compatible with Windows 11.
I don't know about 11, but I know it works fine on 10. I had some weird issues with it during startup. Like it would sometimes hang or not like start correctly sometimes, but I don't know. Your mileage may vary.
And the shit my friend texts me sometimes.
It's like an actual poop, isn't it? It's like, hey,
look at this. It was last week. It's the same guy that I was texting poops back and forth with, but no, he just messages me the most random things. He's like today he messaged me. He said he's like, let's go to Japan and go 50-50 on those used panty vending machines. Gross. And I was like, it's just out of the blue. These are like, there's no context, there's no conversation that was being had, nothing. These are just like the random thought of the day.
Love it.
Just gets sent over. And yesterday it was all about the format because we were going back and ribbing each other over like, do you ever have that friend where it's like seemingly innocuous things happen that other people would just discount or forget, but then it becomes like a joke that lasts a lifetime? Like, let me give you an example. We were inside of Staples and like this had to be like circa 2007 or 2006, and we're inside of Staples in Redmond, and we're sitting there looking at a computer, and all we said was, "Oh, this is a PC compatible." And a guy comes around the corner that we've never seen, this like really weird looking old dude with a mustache, and he goes, "Yeah, you kids these days don't know about these computers. It's all about the format." And we looked at him and we were like, "Okay." And he's like, "Yeah, it's about the format. Nothing else matters. You guys should learn about the format." And he just walked away. And we thought he was trolling us, but it's like, no, he was being very serious, and he maintained a serious demeanor as he was walking around the store. And I was like, that is the weirdest conversation I think I've ever had. Just a random stranger heard us talking about a computer, and he literally stops us, and we look at him. He's like, "It's all about the format. You kids need to learn about the format. Like the computers aren't the same. It's about the format." We're like, "Okay, dude, like whatever, go." And ever since that happened, like even though it was like 2006, 2007, every time me and my friend talk, it could be 6 months that we don't say a word to each other. And all of a sudden I'll just get a message from him, or I'll message him and be like, "Just remember, it's all about the format." And I swear to God, like that'll be in my eulogy. And it's like the most, like there's a million things that happened that were more interesting than that. But for some reason, that was the thing that stuck. I don't know, man. It's weird, but yeah, he's a friend that I grew up with. We actually lived together because my mom took him in when he was a kid. And so we were like best friends, and then became like roommates, growing up and everything. So it's like, yeah, we like nothing offended either of us, no matter what. Like literally, we were the type of people. It's like you were walking down the hallway or whatever, like you were in the shower. The other one would just come in and take a massive shit and leave the seat up, and then not flush, and then leave while you're taking a shower, just so you had to smell their shit the whole time you're taking a shower. Yeah, it's one of those friends. Yeah, so you can imagine we have some interesting conversations. Yeah, I know it's all about the format, Grim. It's all about the format. So
Yep.
speaking about the next creepy thing, this will be a good segue from the Windows error reporting stuff, which was, oh, and by the way, just one thing to wrap on that Windows error reporting. Remember that if your webcam crashes, your unencrypted image or video buffer from Skype is still stored in a local variable. Which means if you've ever had Skype crash or any imaging program for that, but remember, they only have private symbols for the Windows stuff or the Microsoft stuff. But if you were using, say, Skype and you were doing some naughties, and then it said, sorry, Skype is not responding, Skype has crashed and Skype is not responding, just know that there is a small looping buffer of your video that is stored in a variable in that dump file. And one day a script is going to go in there and be able to extract it and put it back into a video file.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you know, that that's happening down the road. It's like if you've ever had Skype crash, whatever was in video and in audio for whatever the buffer length is by default, that will be still stored in a local variable inside that dump file, and it's in a Microsoft database. That if it ever gets leaked, somebody can just write a program that says find all the crashes for Skype, go into every single one of the threads, find all the variables named video buffer, dump that text out, or the binary out of there, dump that out of there, reconstitute it back into an executable and put an extension on it, and then run a fixer over it so that it can fix the corrupted video file and play it back. And you would have every single video of every single crash Skype that ever happened. Isn't that crazy to even think about? It's like, oh man, this is people need to be knowing about this shit more often, because we get complacent with technology, which is the next topic, which is unsecured IP cams watched by strangers. This is now becoming a big deal. Yeah. I just watched another expose on this on YouTube the other day. It's like every couple of months, another one pops up. And there are websites on the internet that you can actually find through the search engine, Google or Bing. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but if you dig enough, you'll find them. And they just index thousands and thousands and thousands of people's webcams where they didn't change the default password.
Jeez.
And you see, and people like there's cameras in people's like kitchens, there's cameras in people's living rooms, there's cameras outside, there's cameras at schools, like in the playground that they're set up. And there's no way to tell from the site, there's no way to tell where it is. Like, unless there's a giveaway in the frame, there's no way to know where it is. So you can't even alert the people. Like, you don't even have the data to alert the people. Like, the best you can do, and I tried this for a couple of the bad ones I found, because yes, there are some in there. Like, some lady was just walking around her kitchen with no top on, and I was like, okay, well, that obviously she probably doesn't want that broadcasted on the internet. So I got the IP address from the connection on the web page, because it oh no, did it relay it? No, I was able to get an IP address. So I remember I went to Whois, I looked up the IP. It said it was an internet provider. I think it wasn't Comcast. It was some other obscured internet provider. And I remember I sent a mail to their abuse. It was like abuse address. And I never got a response back from them other than an automated thing. But I was like, the user at this time with this IP address is broadcasting an unprotected webcam of a personal nature on the internet. And I never got a response back. So I have no idea. And I never went back and checked. So I don't know if it got fixed or not. But this is like a scary thing that's happening, because people don't think like there's not a conscious thought that goes on when somebody buys an IP webcam. They're like, okay, well, I install it, and then my phone finds it on the network and it connects to it, and now it's showing me the image. And they don't really think, well, if I can see the image on my phone, then other people can connect on it through the internet. They think it's just on their local network, but it's not. It's accessible to the world. And a lot of these IP webcams will even go out and talk to a central server looking for updates and stuff like that. So there are ways to actually like manipulate that and set up like DNS endpoints and stuff on the internet to trap that, to have it like connect and resolve to your IP address instead of the other person's IP address. And another one of those like man in the middle type attacks. Yeah. But there was a huge thing that happened a while ago. If you guys remember, it was all over national news. Do you guys remember the Ring camera debacle? Where like everybody could access everybody else's Ring camera, and the database got compromised with every username and password. And apparently some parents had a camera in their daughter's bedroom, and a guy was on the camera like telling her to kill herself and stuff. He's like, I'm your friend, I'm your imaginary friend. And the daughter was like, what, where are you? What's going on? He's like, I want you to go get a knife. Go get a knife from the kitchen. Come on, go do it. And she'd be like, oh, and then she, mommy. And then the parents come into the room and he's like calling them racist names and stuff like that. It was really bad. And they never found the dude that connected to the camera and was doing that stuff. And so that happened a whole bunch. There's multiple instances where this happened, where they were using the two-way communication on the Ring system to actually talk to kids and to talk to people. Could you imagine if you were just like sitting in your kitchen or whatever, and all of a sudden the camera just starts talking to you, it's just some random stranger on the internet being like, oh, you looking good tonight. Oh, I saw what you did the other night. That was pretty cool. Like, you'd feel so violated, right? Like that's terrible. And then worse yet, they're actually recording this stuff and like selling it on dark websites and stuff is like voyeurism. So So first of all, you shouldn't have cameras in your house, like period. Like I highly recommend against it. Like have external cameras that record everything, but inside of the camera, especially in any private areas, do not have any cameras because they're going to broadcast in some way, shape, or form, even if they're wired and they're on your local network. If somebody compromises your local network because of a bug on your router, now they have access to your cameras. So it's best to just not have cameras in any place where you don't want, unless you don't want somebody to see it, don't have a camera there. And I know Wise had a problem. I know Wise also had a vulnerability with that. It was like Wise, Ring, and all the generic ones, like all the Chinese generic ones that were on Amazon that come, they all have a backdoor username and password. So even if you change the username and password, there's a second account on there that has a default admin password that can be accessed. And so these are all indexed all over. I mean, it's thousands. It's not hundreds. It's thousands of cameras just in the United States alone that are just indexed and being randomly watched by strangers. And there's no indication on the user side that it's being watched. Like it doesn't show up in the software and say, oh, somebody outside of your network is viewing this camera. Or the camera doesn't actually have a light that turns on that says when somebody's actually watching it. Like there's nothing there to indicate. They can be just sitting there passively recording it 24/7 and you would never know. So just keep that in mind when you have like IP cameras or cameras that are connected into your network in any way, shape, or form. Like doesn't matter what encryption they have or anything. If the database gets compromised with the usernames and passwords, even if you have a username and password on it without two-factor authentication, the second that database leaks, a ton of people are making a beeline all over the internet. And it's easy to find these cameras too. That's the thing. If you have your router set up in was it UPnP mode? Or you have it set up in DMZ or demilitarized zone mode, where it's basically forwarding traffic in and out of the networks, smartly. Yeah. Smartly, it's actually kind of dumbly, but what it does is all you have to do is create something called a port scanner, and there's a ton of them on GitHub. And all a port scanner does is you just say, hey, look for anything on this port that'll connect to me. And then you basically scan every single IP on the internet, which with a broadband connection takes all of about like 2 hours. And you can scan every single IP on the entire internet. And people are doing this. Thousands of people do this. If you look at your logs just for the number of inbound connections to your router, it's literally in the tens of thousands a day that you didn't solicit, that just people just randomly poking you to see if you're listening. And so because these cams use UPnP and they tell your router to map a port externally so their app can connect and show you your cameras when you're outside of your network, that also gives an endpoint for somebody to connect to with that software who's port scanning. And anytime something picks up on that port, they can be reasonably confident it's that camera. And so then they put it in a spreadsheet and then go back later and manually check the ones that actually listened and picked up. And so it's not hard to find these cameras, so you probably should make sure that they're not in any area like that. And you're using two-factor authentication if it supports it, because they leak databases. But yeah, I thought that was really creepy. The other thing that's becoming a phenomenon is hidden cameras. We've talked about that before. It's like if you're in any public space, like they're finding them now constantly inside of hotel rooms. Airbnbs are the top location now where they're finding hidden cameras. These cameras are so small now, and the technology is so small that they even have a camera that literally fits in the tip of a USB cable. So it's all it looks like is a USB cable, like plugged into a computer, just like hanging off the side of the desk. And in the tip of the USB cable is the camera. And it just looks like a button, like you'd put a paper clip through to push the button. And it's a 4K camera, and it's actually using the cable as the antenna to broadcast.
Wow.
So there's a expose that just came out a couple of weeks ago on YouTube where they take a news reporter into a room of a hotel, and they said, can you find all the cameras in this hotel? And she went around and she found 5 cameras out of 30. So, and they let her search. They told her there's anything in here can be a camera. There's cameras, but go find the ones that you are suspicious that it's a camera. They didn't tell her how many they put in the room. And they said, if you think you're suspicious of a camera, come put it on the bed. And she was able to find 5 of the cameras, but there was 30 in the room. So she missed 25 of the cameras after she purposefully knew there was cameras, and she was meticulously searching every single thing in the room.
Wow.
So, and unfortunately, these devices, like you don't have to make them in your garage anymore. Like you can go to Amazon and buy alarm clocks that have built-in broadcasting cameras. You can buy smoke detectors that have broadcasting cameras. Hell, they even sell a shower nozzle that has a camera that's powered by a dynamo that's turned by the water.
Yeah. Oh, it's so trippy.
So be very, use a lot of scrutiny. Like if you go to an Airbnb or even a hotel room, because there's people that have been caught in these hotel rooms, like putting cameras in like 40 of the rooms, then selling the live feeds to people on the dark web, just to people watch. Yeah. And so the best way to find these cameras is to shine a really bright light around it, everything. Like get yourself a really bright flashlight and walk around and shine it at absolutely everything. If it's a flat surface or it looks translucent in any way, shape, or form, like look for lenses.
Yeah. Another good one too is if you have a video camera that has a night mode, like an IR mode.
Absolutely.
And just all you gotta do, turn all the lights off in like your hotel room or whatever, and then just scan the room in night mode like that. It's got to be infrared mode. Like it's usually camcorders or that sort of thing. Your phone probably won't do it right, but they'll glow.
The front camera does. The front camera on iPhone does it.
Oh, that
I don't know
sense.
if you guys can see
a
that.
lot of times they'll have,
but you can see the blinking LEDs and the tip when I push the button.
IR thing to reduce the red eye sort of thing. That's some sort of IR.
Well, it's because it does the IR thing for your face, for facial recognition.
Oh, so,
so there you go. It doesn't have an IR filter. So, the back cameras don't do it. Like, here, let me try the back cameras. But this is the way you test it. If you want to see if your phone does it, just grab a remote control for a TV that has an IR emitter and just like hold it and push one and point it at the camera. Like right here with the front cameras, I see nothing. There's no lights. It's like it's dead. But if I switch to the front camera and I shine it, I can see a purple light flashing.
Yeah.
If you use that, you can walk around and pick up cameras that have that are broadcasting IR to illuminate so that they can record in the dark.
Because like you see those articles all the time about like how to, like, you can either bring your own little camera and plug it in and it looks like your cell phone charger or something, and you can keep an eye on your hotel room, make sure people ain't stealing your shit. But the other side of that is people can leave that shit behind and will scope out hotel rooms and stuff to, that kind of thing. To get into them or steal your passwords as you're typing around on your laptop and stuff like that.
Oh, and the Quest does it too. If you have a Quest headset, just put it in pass-through mode. The pass, and it'll pick up IR very sensitively.
There you go. Yeah.
So what I would do if I was looking at a hotel room is a couple different steps, and I do actually, because this is scary shit now. It's just happening way too frequently. What I would do is I turn off all the lights and I use my camera and just rotate around the room, shining it. The front-facing camera. I'd shine everything. Look if there's any IR emitters. If there's IR emitters, then investigate and see what they are. The other thing that I would do too is I would search for any radio emission. So if you have a radio scanner, you can buy these packet scanners. They only cost like $20 on Amazon. Plug it in your thing and put a near field antenna on it and just walk around and see if any frequencies are spiking. And you can basically identify every single device in the room that's broadcasting. If you find a device that shouldn't be broadcasting, like a smoke detector or something like that, chances are it's embedded with a camera or a listening device. And even with all that, you're not guaranteed. You could still have one that's a completely standalone microphone buried inside of something that has no broadcasting capability and just stores the SD card until somebody recovers it. You know what the most common item was that had cameras in it inside of hotel rooms and Airbnbs?
Yeah.
Tissue box. The little decorative box that you put over the top of the tissues that they put like in hotels and Airbnbs so that, you can pull the tissues out. It's like a weighted tissue box that goes over the top.
Right.
Those were the things that they found the most cameras in because they sit on the counter and they face towards the shower and the toilet. So and they had battery sources in them that would last for weeks. Like the whole inside edge of it was just a flat packed lithium battery when you took it apart. It didn't have any screws. It was just seams glued together. So you'd physically have to break it apart to see inside of it. And then the place where the camera was actually looks like a piece of white film and it's a marble color. It looks like this marble blue and white on the one that they showed. And the camera is actually behind a translucent layer of that. And then they just put a filter over the lens so that it filters past that white. And it's like tint, one directional tint. So you can't even see it looking at it. And there's no IR. So the IR wouldn't pick that one up. And apparently that one's like super duper popular because it doesn't look out of place. If you put it in a hotel room, usually the maid services and stuff just leave it alone because they're like, oh, it's a box over the tissue thing. And they decorate the rooms a little differently. So it's no big deal. That shit's crazy, man. So, and the other thing, changing in public. This is another thing I've noticed that's becoming a horrible, horrible trend is if you go to a store and you're changing, it's like, don't take off your underwear or your bra because there's people that put cameras in bags and they'll go into the adjacent changing room, put their bag on the floor, and the bag actually has a camera down at the very bottom, right at the base of the bag, pointing up at a 45-degree angle to get under the panel.
Yeah.
And so they do that swimming room, like swimming places and the changing rooms at gyms. They've even found the people doing this in schools. And the sad thing is, it's not just men, it's women too. Women will go into the women's locker room and they'll have these in here because it turns out that there are women that are attracted to other women. So this shit does get recorded, and and you would never guess it. You're like, well, there's never been a man in here. Where's this shit coming from? No, you have to scrutinize shit like that. So if you're ever in a situation where you're in a changing room or something, you notice somebody's bag is sitting, uncomfortably close to the barrier, stick your foot under there and kick that shit out of the way. See what they do. If they start yelling at you like, what the fuck or whatever, then you're probably good. But if they're like super quiet and they like scurry it away and open up the door and like, calmly walk away. Yeah, that person's been recording you. Scary shit, man. Like this is the fucking things that we have to deal with today in society. But if you ever see anything suspicious like that, make sure you report it to security, like silently, and have them go get them, because that is a felony. You go to jail for 5 to 10 years for that shit. So lock these fuckers up, because that's the only way it'll actually stop. Let's see here. Jack Anders said there are also women who will sell out other women for cash. Oh yeah, the women are in human trafficking and all that shit. What was that one lady that was like the star of shit? Was that Superman Smallsville or something like that? What was her name? She was in a cult called like Nexium or something, and she was like human trafficking young women. You got Jelaine
I know
Maxwell.
who you're talking about. Yeah. I can picture her, but I don't.
The one that's like, she's really baby faced. She looks really young. And she was actually like human trafficking people. Then, like I said, Jelaine Maxwell, right? These people that are, they're bisexual or gay, but they're also corrupt as shit. So don't think, Allison Mack, that's who it is, the Smallville lady. No, it wasn't Terry Hatcher. I don't think Terry Hatcher did any of that shit. But yeah, it can be anybody, dude.
The Ring World fucking author, right? Yeah. No, is that who they meant?
I guess.
I don't know.
The thing is, you have to be looking at every Far Cult. Chill out, dude. You just simmer down. There's a guy in chat. Far Cult. He's like, women are child molesters too.
At the pizza joint.
That's. Because I'd be weird, because like, if you're thinking about that kind of stuff, it's like, here, let's insert Trump jokes here. I mean, the dude literally says he wants to hump his own daughter. I mean, if you really want to go after people that are like sexual predators, do that. Sorry, that shit's getting old. That's getting old. Hey, L1954, thank you for the subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. But yeah, be very vigilant with the camera stuff, because that shit is getting so microscopic and so undetectable, and the resolution is insane.
Yeah.
Have you they showed a video on this thing of one of the nanny cams, which is it's an alarm clock, like one of those old school looking alarm clocks, because the older school it is, the less you're going to likely think that there's technology inside of it, right? Yep. So it's like one of those old style ones. And then the front is like smoked glass, so you can't see inside of it. But if you shine a really, really bright flashlight at it, you can see that there's clearly a lens behind it.
The little red dot in there and stuff.
You can see it, but you have to shine a really bright light. Even with the room lights turned all the way up, you can't see shit, right? It just looks like a cover. And so they showed the video quality of it, and it seriously is like better than like a Logitech C920 now.
Yeah,
like it's 1080p, 30 frames per second. Some of the cameras that they had that are a little more expensive are 4K, and most of these cameras are under $100, like all in with the battery, transmitter, the whole deal, and they sell half of them on Amazon. I think that's crazy. You can just go to Amazon, but they skirt Amazon's rules by calling it something else. It's like, I think it's nanny cam. If they label it as nanny cam, then they're allowed to have it. So right here. Oh, this is another one they showed. So $30, you can buy a 32 gigabyte hidden camera and an Apple charger. You know, the little Apple brick that plugs into the wall.
Yep.
So it just looks like it looks like it has the spot for like a reset pin to go in, and that's the camera. So anywhere you have an outlet in a room, you put it in there, and then facing opposite of the outlet, it's going to record a fisheye high quality 1080p video of the entire room. And then for a couple dollars more, you can get one with a microphone. So there's one inside of a router, one inside of a USB hub. So if you have a USB hub,
all kinds of stuff.
It's everything you can possibly think of. There's a freaking camera. And so scrutinize everything, and not just things that you think. Like, for instance, you can buy one that's a shaving cream container. You can buy one that is a half drinking bottle of Mountain Dew. Where the graphic on the label has a spot where it's dark, like there's like a dot on an eye or something like that, but if you get up really close and shine a light at it, you can clearly see it's got a red hue because it's a lens. And then the battery and everything is contained inside of a mirrored surface, so it mirrors the liquid, so it looks like the liquid goes all the way down to the bottle, but realistically there's a hidden compartment in between. So scrutinize the shit out of everything. Like if you go to a hotel room, it's like no matter what, it's like if there's something that looks like it's out of place or something that shouldn't be there or something that's even suspicious, like pick that shit up and give it a once over before you start walking around. And if you find that shit, make sure you alert like security ASAP, because chances are somebody is live watching that. So if they discover that you discovered their camera, they're going to be trying to leave the premises in a hurry. And if you can call security fast enough, they're going to look for the dude who's scurrying out as fast as possible and go nab him up. Let's hear. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome that you educate us on these things. Yeah, it's sad that more people don't talk about this shit. Like it should be talked about, because it's the only way it stops.
There's a separation, right? There's plenty of folk talking about it. It's just a matter of wanting to see it, wanting to go and find this information. If it never occurs to you to ask the question, you're never going to come across the information to answer that question.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point, my friend.
Yeah.
But hopefully you guys learned to be scared today.
Yeah, most of the people who are finding this mind-blowing probably never crossed their mind to even consider it. And so that's why it's surprising, and that's where the thanks is coming from. It's just because, like, holy shit, it never occurred to me to even think that there could be this possibility. And so, like, that's the big why. And now, of course, now that the door's open, that little crack, it opens up all kinds of other stuff. You shouldn't be connecting to your hotel's Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. I do all the time anyway, because I don't give a shit. I've had
any unprotected Wi-Fi you shouldn't be connected.
We've gone down the path of my give a shit about privacy and blah, blah, blah. So I don't care. And it's work computers usually anyway. So, like, whatever. You know, if you want my shit, go ahead. All the financial stuff I've already got locked down and all that stuff, whatever. But still, you know, that kind of thing.
That was a weird noise from your dog.
Jesus, that was the little one.
Danny cams have a good reason beyond nefarious placement. Remember why we created consumer versions to catch babysitters abusing kids? Yeah, no. But that's the thing. Anything good is going to be used for bad too.
Totally.
Like, they have a reason to exist. It's just the problem is they're being used. Like, a lot of these are being used for bad stuff now. Is basically what it comes down to.
Now, what you use them for is whatever. Do what you like. Yeah. But it's more of just a hey, heads up. There are weirdos out there who are doing this stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's just crazy where they can put these cameras now. Like shit that I didn't even think about.
The air tags being used to follow people and shit.
That's another big one. Yep.
You know, like, there are perfectly reasonable uses for them, and a super handy thing to have. But just be aware that there are people doing weird shit with them.
Yeah, so. And just know, in case any of you guys are getting ultra curious and being like, oh, I'm gonna go buy one of these and put it in the bathroom. If you get caught, and you will eventually, like, that's the thing about shit like this, is like, you might get away with it once, you might get away with it twice, but you're gonna get caught eventually. This is a felony. This isn't a misdemeanor. This is a big deal. This is hard time. This will be 5 to 10 years in the penitentiary for, you know, going and recording a video when you could have literally just gone to Pornhub and just had your way. You know, it's like, you don't need to put shit at risk like that. Like, don't let curiosity kill the cat. It'll fuck you every time. But if you do see this shit, definitely speak up and say something, because the whole reason that I started investigating this in the first place was Miss Liz had sent me a link a while ago, because she heard from another person of the site that was indexing all these cameras. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit. But then not long after that, a friend of mine who was in Hawaii on vacation, they went into their Airbnb, and his wife noticed while she was in the shower that inside of the vent on the top where the steam was going up, the vent over the shower, there was a bright blue LED that was flashing intermittently. And it's like, why would there be a blue LED inside of this vent? Right.
Yeah.
So she jumped out of there really quick, and she's like, what the hell's going on? And they called the property manager, and they said that there was something up in the vent, but they couldn't take the vent off. The way the vent was installed, it couldn't just be pulled down like a regular vent. It was like it had to be removed with tools, and they didn't have the tools. And so that's suspicious, because normally those vents just pop down, right? They're normally not screwed, leg bolted into the ceiling with, like, you know, weird screws. So that raised more suspicion. So they called the property manager. Immediately after calling the property manager, they get a call from Airbnb that said, you guys need to leave the premise immediately. And so they packed up all their shit, and they got out and they put them in a hotel room while they figured out another Airbnb for them. So they forgot some shit at the room, and they needed to go back. So when they went back in the room and they checked the vent, and there was no more blue blinking LED in there anymore. Weird. So what happened was Airbnb removed him after the property manager was notified. He's like, oh crap, I got caught. So he called Airbnb and said, oh, the customers are having a problem, get them out of here. And then he probably, and we're speculating, I can't prove it, but it looks like he went back, or whoever did it knew that they found it. Like they knew they found it, and they got into the place as soon as they left and removed it as quickly as possible.
Yeesh.
So that's a little bit scary. It's like,
Yeah.
hopefully if there is a video out there somewhere, that person just takes it to the grave with them. But if their hard drive gets hacked or they get leaked or their computer goes to auction or something, that shit's going to be uploaded to some site somewhere, and that'd be humiliating as fuck, right? So yeah, just keep in mind, like, be vigilant and see that stuff. And if you do see it, make sure you report it to the authorities. And you can call the police. It is a felony. So if you do actually see something that you are reasonably confident is a camera or somebody who's acting suspiciously that looks like they have something like a camera, fucking report it to the cops, because it is a felony. And if they get arrested, they'll be taken off the street and they won't be doing that to anybody else anytime soon. So and plus, if you find somebody doing that in a store, like, store security will fuck them up. Like, like if you want to talk about the shit that'll get you in trouble, shoplifting might get you, like, pulled into the room and handcuffed. You do that shit, loss prevention is going to literally take you into a dark room and beat the ever living shit out of you.
Well, I imagine the store could catch some flack for it too, in some tangential way. I'm sure
it already happened. Target was in an expose that I watched where people were going into Target, and the way that they have the dressing room set up, it made it really easy for people to put cameras up high and down low looking into the dressing rooms. And so all these videos started showing up, and it's clearly Target because all their rooms are painted red and have Target, insignia all over the place. So it was clear that it was a Target that this was being recorded at. And there was like several hundred videos that were recorded at the location before they caught the guy.
Wow.
So, and those videos are already out on the internet somewhere. So that's a problem. And so Target, had to, like, up their security. Now they're being way more scrutinous. When you go in there, they're instructing people to, like, don't strip down fully nude or whatever if you go into these things. There was all kinds of mitigation steps that they were doing. I think at this one Target, I don't know if they were doing it like everywhere, because I think it's kind of franchise-ish or something. But at this one particular location, they were like, yeah, just be aware that, this shit has happened here. It could technically happen again. Just be vigilant. Keep an eye out for stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you're super aware of your surroundings, they're not going to attempt it. Like if you look like you're looking around a bunch and you're nervous and you're paying attention to shit going on, they're just going to shut down and move their operation. So it's like, if anything else, just look paranoid as absolute fuck, and you'll protect yourself, indirectly. Oh wow, we're over the time, aren't we? Uh-oh. No, we're 7 minutes over. Damn. People are fucked up. Yes, they are. Human beings, and plus the thing is, like, this is where it gets bad, is like, you have this technology accessible to everybody, right? So you're going to have a younger generation of people that are just going to be curious as fuck, and they're going to want to get away with things. Like, when we were kids, we did all kinds of stupid stuff. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to peek into the fucking dressing room and shit when I could.
Or try,
right? You try and usually get busted doing it. But, I remember going over to my friend's house or whatever, and, I'd walk by and his sister would be in her room or whatever and be like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, when we were kids, you're curious. But the thing is, nowadays, it's like, that shit's hardcore felony. And the technology allows you to capture something where it's not just in your brain. It's not just a curiosity. It's like you're creating something tangible that can get out, that once it's out, you can never recall it.
Right.
So you can't run that risk. You can't guarantee anybody that you can protect their data 100%. Nobody can make that guarantee, no matter how secure the technology is, right? It's like, you could have that shit encrypted on a hard drive in your locker, and it doesn't mean that in 10 years they're not going to create a decryption matrix for that, and you're going to die, and that's going to go to a fucking estate auction, and somebody's going to buy it and decode it and be like, oh, what is this? And put it on the internet. So you can't guarantee the security of a shit, so don't have it in the first place.
Yep.
And I think on that note, we're going to end.
That's right.
You guys have been awesome. Thank you for hanging out for Tech Talk this week. We will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat place, 11 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. And if you guys want to catch us playing Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow with Mr. David Hewlett and Gimpy G and Cutie Dragon and James James G. What's his last name? James Gurney.
Oh,
sure. So James Gurney, and we're all going to be playing some Dungeons and Dragons with our newly created characters. By the way, your character looks awesome, dude.
Thank you.
The flamethrower dude. That's awesome. So if you guys want to hang out, we're not going to stream it on my channel this time. We're going to stream it on Gimpy G's. But if you come to my channel tomorrow, I'm going to be rating him. So you'll get there one way or another. And then if you want to see us during the week, we both do our own things over on our Twitch channels. Those are linked in the video description.
Oh, I have so many PCs I need to finish.
You better get on it, bro. You better get on it. And so if you want to see us individually during the week, just fair warning, over on my Twitch stream, I go a little bit harder than I do here by design. So just brace yourself for it. And that aside, Twitter. We're on Twitter most of the time. So come over there and hang out.
Twitter's the way to go.
All right. I think I covered everything. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the subs. You guys are awesome. And I love your face. And we will see you next time.